Hey guys, welcome to Green Bean Fiction. So in today's video we are gonna see what if Fishman Deku had a harem, part 2. Before starting, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are interested in MHA fanfictions. This story is Son of Neptune by Stillwell03. Now without wasting any more time, let's dive in. In order to help his people, Izuku had decided to attend a college above the ocean in order to establish peaceful relationships for the Ryugu kingdom and humans. In one of the first training sessions he had, Izuku was paired with Ochako while facing Bakugo and Iida. In a one-on-one fight with his childhood bully, Izuku was holding his own and proving himself stronger. With his back against the wall, however, Bakugo unleashes a massive attack even though he was highly recommended not to directly at Izuku to make contact. Observation Room. Third-person POV. Class A looked in horror as Izuku was engulfed by the explosion. Many feared he might have actually gotten hurt from it, with the sound of Bakugo's laughter coming over the mic. "You see that, you fucking loser? That's the difference between someone that has power and those that are weak and quirkless losers like you. All Might, should the match be stopped now?" Kirishima asked, worried about his classmate, with many wondering if this was over the edge for a first official hero class. "Should I stop the match here? I know Principal Nezu said that young Ryugu can handle himself, but that was undoubtedly a very powerful blast that could have hurt him easily." "Hey, what's going on with Uraraka?" One of the students caught All Might's attention for him to look at the screen showing Ochako for her to be on the ground holding her head. "Young Uraraka, are you alright?" I don't know. All of a sudden, my head began throbbing with the sound of Ryugu shouting in my head. It hurts. I don't care. I need to call this match now so nobody else gets hurt anymore, and it may hold counter-productions for what we're trying to achieve. All Might was about to press the intercom to stop the match before seeing the smoke clear and have Izuku standing with his arms crossed. "Web links, what the? You're supposed to be dead. You think I'm weak enough to fall back to something so minor as that? Then you've got another thing coming." As the smoke around Izuku cleared, it showed his body covered with haki to turn pitch black. "For years, I've protected the Ryugu kingdom and fought tooth and nail to get to the level of skill I have in haki. Now, I think it's time to end this fight." "Haki?" Everyone in the observation room asked for All Might to explain the basics. To make it simple, haki is an old fighting style that is on the verge of dying because of quirk evolution. For one to master it would take an extreme level of skill and talent. From what I am told, young Ryugu is a born natural with haki. "You bastard!" Bakugo was about to pull his second gauntlet's pin before having a punch by Izuku knock the wind out of him. Before he could register and react, Izuku grabbed the unused gauntlet to break it. "Now how's it feel to be the weakling? Are you scared, terrified? I'll show you what real fear is while remaining in the confines of what this class is. Die." Bakugo let loose an attack with Izuku holding his hand out. The blast was deflected fairly easily before having multiple others come at Izuku. Each one missed and dissolved in front of the green-haired man to only enrage Bakugo more. "Why won't you die? You want to see death? 40,000 brick fist?" Izuku gave a punch to Bakugo's face to send him flying before moving towards the direction in which the ash blonde flew. "Now, 40,000. Roundhouse." A kick knocked Bakugo upwards towards Iida. He broke through the floor, panicking both the engine quirk user and Ochako. "Bakugo, what happened to you?" "I happened." Izuku jumped out of the hole down to the lower floors for Bakugo to struggle standing. "Ah. You still have some fight left in you. Adorable. Fuck you." Bakugo let loose another blast for Izuku to dodge it almost as if he expected this to come. He continued to walk closer and closer to both the ash blonde and Iida. In an attempt to help, the engine quirk user tried to attack Izuku with his leg, to be met by the area being covered in armament. "Ah. Not the most ideal thing to do to a haki user like me." Izuku grabbed Iida by the gaps between his helmet and hero suit to hold him close to his face. "I think it's time we have a little nap, shall we?" He activated his Conqueror's haki to force Iida to be knocked out before turning back to Bakugo. "Now where were we?" Bakugo stared at Izuku, who held a rather unsettling smile. He knew that there was no chance against Izuku, with it both infuriating him and fearing him. In a last-ditch effort, Bakugo came at Izuku for him to give one solid right hook and reveal the ash blonde's pupils no longer present in his eyes to indicate he was knocked out. Laying on the ground, Bakugo could only fathom the insanity in his own mind for losing to Izuku of all people. I lost. To the quirkless. Reject? Now that that's over with, you want to touch the bomb and call that a win for us? Izuku looked to the door for Ochako to peek her head in. You knew I was here. Hockey. Oh. Right. Ochako walked towards the bomb to tap it with all might, shouting over the speaker. Hero team wins. Izuku let a sigh out before walking away. Ryugu. Are you okay? I heard your voice get very intense for a moment. I'm fine. Nothing that has to be worried about. All might. Iida probably has a fracture in his ankle, while the idiot blonde might have a broken jaw and some other fractured bones. Mind getting some medical robots? They're already on the way. The pro spoke through the speaker as Izuku and Ochako went down to the bottom level. There, they were met with the entire class marveled at Izuku's actions. Ryugu. That was awesome, man. You were so cool how you just tanked everything Bakugo threw at you. You okay? Those attacks looked kinda intense. He didn't bother reassuring most of the class as he leaned on a wall and waited for All Might to go over the results. And the MVP of this training session is young Ryugu. Can anyone tell me why? I believe I can. A girl with long black hair put up in a ponytail called Momo Yaoyorozu raised her hand. In Bakugo's case, he was adamant about going after Ryugu to not listen to any reason. Iida had not learned from our past test that Ryugu's skill with hockey is and unfortunately met his end due to that. Uraraka's unable to claim this due to being unable to respond and react in way that helps others. Ryugu had been the only one able to find a weakness in which he was able to create a plan and deliberate it in a way both could be handled in an adequate manner. Izuku stared at the girl somewhat impressed while remembering what her name was. Momo Yaoyorozu. If I remember correctly, Kami's friend Popig does business with her parents. Bunch of high-class people that probably don't know the first thing of strife. Izuku decided to sit down and relax while recovering his hockey while watching the rest of the matches go on. After school, Izuku Pav. Once school got out for me, I decided to make myself some kelp tea as a way to relax. As I did, Asui began walking into the kitchen to grab a pudding she had. Hey, Ryugu. What type of tea are you brewing? Smells nice. Kelp tea. The flavor is from the leaves being dried and introduced to some rather relieving aromatics that grow on the seafloor. Personal favorite at the Mermaid Café. Seeing this as a way to ask her, I decided to handle the elephant in the room. So what's a fishwoman like you doing above ground? Excuse me. You heard me. Normally the fishmen and merfolk of the ocean aren't allowed to come above ground, yet you were able to. Did you show some kind of talent or something to be allowed up by the world government? Before we get somewhere wrong, I'm human and I don't have any relationships towards any fishmen. At least as far as I know. She pulled out a phone before showing me a picture of her family. Both my parents had frog-like quirks, so mine came out similar to theirs. I guess quirks up here have strange alterations like that. Makes me even more irritated that the members of the Ryugu kingdom can't get up above sea level. Bedo. Remembering the transponder snail I normally have on me, I picked up and started talking into it. Hello, brother. Brother, I miss you. I heard Shirahoshi on the other side with her average way of showing her affection by bawling her eyes out. Shirahoshi, you don't have to worry. I promise I'll be home when I can to see you again. Dang, Shirahoshi, you really know how to let the waterworks go. I heard Yamato on the other side to change my attention to her. You're there, Yamato. Yeah, I've been trying to keep her calm knowing she misses her big brother. Then again, she's not so little to begin with to make that comment sound weird. Ha 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 ha. Please don't make fun of Shirahoshi's size even though it's not meant to be rude. She gets upset easily and I feel bad when she does. Fair enough, you're my husband after all. I began hearing the sound of footsteps running for Ashido to come into the kitchen. Did someone just say Ryugu has a wife? Fiancé. And yeah? Before I could respond, Ashido grabbed the transponder snail and began talking to Yamato. You're Ryu's wife, right? Is he always a moody grump or is that weird? Also, how did you two meet? Izuku. Are you really causing your classmates trouble already? Shire. You're there too, of course. Somebody needs to make sure Shirahoshi is happy and also to keep Yamato in line in case she says something she shouldn't. Hey, I'm not that bad. Yes. You are. Both me and Shire answered in unison for Ishido to poke my arm to get my attention. Ryugu. Who's the other girl on the line? Shirley. She's another one of my fiancés and a Mako shark mermaid. I knew her since childhood and she's always been there for me. I sighed happily for this with some of the other members of the class coming in overhearing the shouts. You also got the chance to jump her fish bones if I remember correctly. Yamato began laughing at this with Robocop now starting up his stupid spiels. Ryugu. How dare you commit to such lecherous acts? What if you were to get a STD or something? Did someone just say that Izuku could get an STD from me? I could tell Shirley was extremely irritated by this from the glares the snail was giving. Whoever said this should understand how they are spread and you cannot contract one by just sleeping with a normal person. They would need to have the virus to begin with and I run a very clean shop where nobody has it. Also, I don't go around sleeping with other men which is the more likely chance you could get it from that, so I would rather you have your facts straight before accusing me of passing on a rather serious virus such as that. Iida didn't know what to say for him to bow his head. I am truly sorry, miss. I did not intend to insult you as such. I'm over it. I could hear Shirley inhaling and exhaling from her pipe before Shirahoshi got on the line. Brother. Did you make new friends at school? Holy crap, this chick sounds hot. Anyone got a pic of her? I glanced down at the small perverted idiot before kicking him a distance. I regret nothing. I think the better term is acquaintances. Congratulations, Izuku. If you come home anytime soon, can you bring your friends with you? I don't know. I'm pretty sure most of these people would. You can count on it. Ryubro's little sister. I'll make sure to clear my schedule just so I can come down there to meet ya. Kirishima butted in with some of the other members of the class joining in. You're such nice people, sob. I gave a death glare at the class as I cleared my throat to continue. Well anyway, how's everyone else doing? Yamato started going down the list of what some of the girls are doing right now for me to know. Well, Ulti is trying to keep entertained by fighting Jinbei. She normally gets a few bumps on her head with her head face down steaming. Praline is singing at the Mermaid Café in your place. Wanda and Carrot are helping out the royal guards since they were Beastkadirs when they were on Zou. Reiju is learning about the kingdom's history. And what about you? Hee. I don't do much. She lazes around a lot before going to the Mermaid Café to work as a server for a little extra money to enjoy her boring life. You didn't have to tell him that. Shirley. Yamato started whining before Shirahoshi took the snail again. Brother. Do you know when I'll see you again? I'm not sure, but I promise I'll tell you first before I tell anyone else. Promise? Promise. I smiled knowing Shirahoshi's doing her best at handling the situation we're in before Shire got on. Well, I apologize for calling you abruptly. I hope we weren't disturbing anything. None at all. It's nice to hear from all of you. I hope I'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye. Click. The snake shut off for me to place it back in my pocket before grabbing my tea and going back to my room. On the way out, I started to hear some of the class talk. Anyone else think it's kinda creepy how Ryugu was smiling when he normally scowls? I think it's sweet. He loves his family and fiancés. Ishido mentioned this before a conversation about Bakugo came up. Speaking of grumpy people, has anyone seen Bakugo? I think he said something about going to see someone in Class B. You think it's a girlfriend? He does know a green-haired girl in Class B if I remember. They could be. I rolled my eyes if that was the case before walking back up. If anything, those two were made for each other. Both psychotic and pieces of shit. In order to help his people, Izuku joins a college above ground to establish peaceful negotiations with fishmen and humans. In one of their first hero classes, Izuku is paired up with Ochako and faces both Iida and Izuku's childhood friend Bakugo. In a thrilling battle, Izuku proves to his classmates his strength even though he is deemed quirkless. Thanks to this, he was able to claim victory over his opponents and earn the respect of his classmates doing so. However, many of the class still have unanswered questions in which they begin wondering just who Izuku Ryugu truly is in regards to his past. Ochako Pav. Saturday finally came for all of us with the last 2 days being rather intense. For starters, who the heck has a test that threatens you to be expelled if you come in last on the first day? Yesterday though was really scary, more because of what happened with Ryugu and Bakugo. From what I can get, they have some history but I don't know what. I decided to go find Bakugo to see what he knew since Ryugu tends to be rather tight-lipped about his personal life. He does, though, treat Sue and Ishido a little differently. It's not big, but he's less cold with them than someone like me or Ida. I started walking down to see the girls of our class all sitting around the common area. Hey, Ochako. Wanna join us? We were talking about the guys. Sure. But do any of you know where Bakugo went? I wanted to ask him a question. One for a steamy romance. What? No, I wanted to ask what he knew about Ryugu because the two act like they know each other. I started panicking from Ishido's comment for her to snap her fingers in anger. I saw him leave the dorms today. He said something about wanting to train with someone, at least, that's what I got from his screaming. I guess that throws that question being answered quickly under the bus. Thanks, Sue. Anyway, what were you talking about involving the guys? We were talking about who'd be good for being with. Hagakuri's comment made me blush a little. Not that I haven't had some male friends and stuff, but relationships were You get the gist. So does anyone get your attention, girls? I've seen Ishido talk with Kirishima regularly. Juru comments for Mina to throw this off any rails. Me and him are from the same high school. We knew each other as far back as middle school, so of course we're gonna talk. I also don't see him as anything special. Nothing personal to Kiri though, but he's not the type of guy I'm into. So what is your type then? I asked for Ishido to smile. The happy and peppy guys that don't put themselves down so much. I want a guy that's confident in himself. But not confident to the point he's arrogant like Bakugo. To be honest, Ryugu's confidence is probably what I'm talking about. Not arrogant, but not willing to let you kick him when he's down. If that confidence would be in someone with, I'd say, Kaminari's attitude, I'd be fine dating him. Speaking of the idiot, what do you girls think of Kaminari? Juru asked for us all to answer the way we thought was right. Oblivious at times. Silly. Kinda dumb. He tried to pick me up on the second day and I told him I wasn't interested. I pointed out the obvious for everyone to look at me. He tried to get me to go on a date with him and I told him I wasn't into dating guys that ask someone they just know on a date. We continued this conversation with most of the guys being either too this or too that. Some were decent like Siro, who though is kinda a goofball, is a good person. You could also throw Ida in the mix if he wasn't a stickler for the rules. Eventually, we got to the three powerhouses of our class. So what about Todoroki? He's strong, but emo. Not someone that gives off the image of a nice guy. I think he has his own issues. Same. To be honest, I can't read him. It's hard to say, but he seems like someone that's dealing with a lot and it's not something we should pry in. Everyone kept looking at me like I was some kind of saint or something to have it get really awkward and annoying. Moving to Bakugo and Ryugu, what do you all think of them? One is crazy and the other is crazy with the power to back it up. Bakugo is really angry and I doubt will be a notable hero. Ryugu makes me feel like I'm watching Endeavor do his hero work. He needs to learn our names for Bakugo and Ryugu gives me the creeps, especially when he smiles. Hey. Watch it, Toru. I found it cute seeing him get happy. He's just like us, wanting some love from the people that love him. Bakugo I think needs to get over whatever rebellious phase he's in. I feel as if Bakugo should understand where others are coming from while Ryugu should try and make friends with us a little more. Can't fix what isn't there. I got up before being pushed back in my seat by Ishido. What about you? What do you think of Ryugu and Bakugo? Well, Ryugu I think is very nice in his own way. He helped me understand something I had for a long time to know it's something great. Bakugo is let's just say he'd be someone I'd not envy any girl having. Ishido looked at me with a smirk for a second to confuse me. What did he help you understand you had? It's nothing like that. He just helped me understand that I have a good skill with observation hockey. You mean that weird stuff that turned him dark purple and knocked out Iida by just staring at him? Wait, I thought he looked pitch black? Juru asked for Yayorozu to explain to her why she said purple. If you looked at the light reflecting off him, you'd see traces of purple, but it was such a dark coating you could argue his skin turned pitch black. Everyone's attention went back to me for them to start asking questions. So what exactly do you have that makes you have a talent for hockey? Basically, I can hear people's thoughts and understand what they're feeling if I concentrate or if I'm at a point of a completely relaxed state. I also heard something on the first night that makes me worry for Ryugu. Everyone raised their eyebrows at me for Sue to ask, "What did you hear?" He's in pain. A lot of pain. He hides it very well, but something happened the other night that I don't know what happened to make him give off such a feeling of fear and pain. I think I get what you mean. Jiro spoke up before explaining to us what she saw. When I went down that night to get something to drink, I saw Ryugu looking pale and as if he was traumatized. But what really scared me was this one facial feature he gave. A smile. A smile scared you. It wasn't like the one we saw, Hagakure. This one was different. It looked almost forced, like a nervous reaction that shook me to my core seeing. His back was quivering too, like something was causing a lot of pain in his body to make him shake. I honestly want to say he looked like he was scared shitless or something. At this point, Yaoyorozu started putting some things on paper with a pen she had. I'm done playing a game of piece by piece learning about him. Right now, we know a few things. First, he's a member of the Ryugu royal family by adoption. He was given up by his former family and sold off as a kid due to being quirkless if what Bakugo said was the truth. He has several burns and has some form of PTSD from what Jiro and Uraraka said. He also has 2 different burns in areas. One on his back to the shape of a sun and 2 similar ones over his forearms. He also despises humanity for some reason and has made that point clear to only have a softer side for those with mutation quirks like Ashido and Asui. She placed everything down in the center of the table with the girls looking at it for me to speak up. None of this really makes as much sense. Unless you add the last bit Bakugo said on the first day. World Noble. This is a term given to those that live atop in the kingdom of Mary Geois. They also go by another name known as celestial dragons. That one I've heard. Ashido stated this while pinching the bridge of her nose. They're dicks. The law doesn't abide to them and they do whatever they want with any form of violent act taken on them being punishable by the most brutal death you could have. To them, it's like they are absolute law. Can't fight it, but can be hurt by it. She looked down in irritation before continuing. When I was little, my older sister crossed a celestial dragon the wrong way. She didn't even do it on purpose. This guy looked at her for 1 second and was disgusted with her to the point he shot her in the face. The only reason he gave was saying that her existence was disgusting enough and he was putting her out of her misery. It made me sick, but it made me realize these guys are nothing but monsters that we'd all be better off if they disappeared or just didn't enter into our lives. I felt the frustration coming off of Ashido's normally happy demeanor to know she was mad and spiteful. I don't blame her though if that was what these celestial dragons do. There are worse things that could have happened to your sister that this person could have done. What do you mean there are worse things? My sister is dead because of those bastards. How is that not the worst thing? Yao. She could have been taken as a slave. All of us were shocked before Yaoyorozu continued. Ordinarily, slavery is illegal. No argument there. But the celestial dragons are above that as far as the world government states. If they want a slave, they'll be more than able to take it. They deem whatever they want as their birthright and anyone that tries to defy them is defying God basically to the point it's also their right to put that person down. As such, those who are slaves to the celestial dragons are given slave collars. These if you try to take them off or defy your master will explode. Because of this, many lose the will to fight back knowing it's over for them. But the second thing is a little more barbaric. They brand their slaves with the mark of the celestial dragon. A dragon's footprint which most of the time will be on their backs. Yaoyorozu. You okay? Sue asked for Yaoyorozu to make another symbol like a dragon's footprint. This is what the brand mark looks like if it's on a slave to the celestial dragon. She then altered it a bit to look like what we knew of Ryugu's burn on his back. Now this is roughly what the mark on Ryugu's back looks like if it was over a slave mark. I haven't gotten a great view of the mark, so it may not be as accurate. They overlap. All of our eyes grew wide when we started piecing together the truth. Ryugu. Was actually a slave. I felt my mouth dry up when we found this out for a hand to be on my shoulder. I turned around to see a rather tall woman with a fishtail where her legs are on a wheelchair. So you found out about Izuku's past. Who are you? Her name is Shiarly. She's one of Ryugu's fiancés. Due to some agreements given to her by the city, Shiarly was able to come above ground before Ryugu's other fiancés and look into establishing a second mermaid cafe. She was also hoping to get some students that wanted to make a little money to help. Mr. Aizawa stated this from the side of the room listening in. It's none of my business what the truth is about Ryugu. But it might be better for them to know this from someone who knows about it. Isn't that right, Ryugu? We glanced over to see Ryugu sitting in a chair right beside us. We were so focused on our conversation that we didn't even realize he was right there. So you six found out the truth, huh? He glared at us before taking a glance directly at Ishido. I'm sorry about your sister. It doesn't make up for what happened, but at least understand I know the frustration you feel. Izuku, please tell them. It's better off they know this now instead of pushing the topic. Ryugu looked away as if he was really mad before Shiarly wheeled her wheelchair over to him. Tell them now to stop them from getting the wrong idea of things. She smacked him over the head to surprise all of us. All right, geez, sometimes I think you and Arlong share more aspects than you think. But if we're telling them. Ryugu pulled out a small peanut before coating it with that hockey stuff and flicking it to the wall. Immediately, the guys came down and laid in a pile by the stairwell. Might as well add the onlookers if we're gonna be honest. Also, nobody tells a soul what I'll say. Got it. We all nodded for Ryugu to start by pulling out a picture of 4 people. 3 of them looked the same with the boy and girl looking like Ryugu. The woman was strange looking in the bunch. Let's start this off with my first family. Since all of this started here. Also, you may want to be prepared to lose your stomachs in some parts. It's not a pretty one. In order to help his people, Izuku joins a school above ground to help his people. In an amazing show of feats, Izuku showed Class A his own talents. However, some of his classmates began piecing together his past to find out his dark truth. Now, the secret to that past life of Izuku is brought to light. Izuku Pav, my life started like any other. Actually, I think I was behind from the beginning. My older sister was born with talent at a young age. Blessed with a fire quirk at the age of 2 while I still showed no signs. She could talk and walk perfectly fine shortly after her quirk manifested and I couldn't get full sentences out yet. My stepmother after my father remarried when we were infants said she was a blessing by the heavens while I was blessed just to be born. I started laughing a bit remembering these words as early as 1. Though I couldn't speak or walk as early as her, my memory was far better than my sister remembering things as early as the first months of my life. As such, I could understand how praised my sister was. First to choose things, first to be given meals, first to be acknowledged. I never had a problem with this until one day. Our 5th birthday, we were brought to a quirk doctor for him to say the worst news I could hear at the time. Flashback to age 5, yeah kid, you're not gonna have a quirk. These words made me freeze. Care to tell me how you know he won't? It seems peculiar that his younger sister had a quirk at 2 with Izuku not being able to manifest one. My mother mentioned as she was hugging my sister. She held a smirk on her face for some reason as the doctor explained with an X-ray. For some abnormal reason, quirk users are normally found to have either 1 or 3 joints in their pinky toes. If someone has 2 joints, it's safe to assume that they won't produce a quirk. In twin cases, this is unlikely, but still possible. Oh well, I guess it's just your luck Izuku. At least you're a golden egg, Izumi. My adopted mother stated as we were allowed to leave after. When we were outside, I tried to get her attention and apologize before she spoke up. Her words still haunt me to this day. I should have never expected anything from you. Such a waste of space. I couldn't believe it. The woman that was supposed to protect and help me treated me like I was a plague. Back to present. I felt my stomach rise up on me remembering these words and how I wanted nothing more right now than to just beat the crap out of my old family. However, the next bit infuriated me knowing it was going to be told. Though she wasn't my real mother, I still held out hope thinking she could at least care for me. Obviously that belief was bullshit. What happened after? The tape dunce asked for me to go over the last few months I had with my family. I was put through hell for you all, picked on and ridiculed for something I had absolutely no say in. My main tormentors though were my sister and Bakugo. I regularly tried to get help from my parents, teachers, fucking cops and pro heroes. Every time I asked, jack shit was done. They made up stupid excuses for the teachers saying they have no control out of school grounds even though this happened on their watch. Cops and pros said that they can't help unless they see it even though they should have been able to at least pull me out of the house I was in. And my family, they had no care with my father pretending I wasn't there and my mother saying it doesn't benefit her at all, so why should she defend a weakling like me? I was floored at the comments made, probably more than the incidents themselves. But how did you become a slave? Asui asked for me to hold up 5 fingers. 5 months after my diagnosis, my adopted mother chose to bring me to a slave auction on Sabayati. There, I was sold off to the slaver to be sold in that day's auction. Anyone wanna hear what my family got for me? Everyone was hesitant in asking. Come on, I want one of you to ask me. Ask me, how much did your family get for selling your quirkless ass? I glanced around for Yaoyorozu to stick out to me. You look like you could tell the worth of a human being very well. So tell me, Yaoyorozu. Ask me and see if it answers your guess. I really don't feel comfortable doing that. Come on, you and the girls were so eager to find out the truth before, it's only right one of you to ask the question. I don't want to. Ask the question. Please, I don't. I slammed my fist on the table beside me before shouting. Ask me how much I was worth. How much were you worth? She had tears coming down her eyes as she said this for me to laugh. 5,000 yen. Ha 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 ha. 5,000 fucking yen. My life was worth so little that I wasn't even worth a decent selling price. Many in the room were mortified as I explained how much I was worth in the eyes of humanity. What happened after? RoboCop was clearly scared of what I said. The slave auction I mentioned before happened. Some of the most high-ranking individuals could be seen here and in the crowds as I stood on that stage prepared to face whatever would come my way. Next was my horrid family with my stepmother holding the money she got selling me off. The fact I was so worthless didn't sit right with me either. I was sold shortly after for 6,000 yen. And when I was bought, I saw the man who made me think of one thing. I've finally reached hell. Flashback to the day of the auction. After being sold, I was brought to the man with him immediately looking at me with disgust. Know your place. He smacked me across the face and held a gun to my head. I paid money for you, so you don't have the right to look at me with those filthy eyes. You should be grateful someone as blessed as myself gave you this opportunity. Now smile. I couldn't comprehend fully why this was happening. As such, all I could do to avoid being killed was smile and pretend everything was okay. Once that happened, I was dragged away towards a ship and brought to actual hell. The kingdom of Mary Giois. Once here, I was brought to a room where there was a fire going. Inside it, there were several metal rods inside with handles on them. I was so distraught over the fact I was sold that I wasn't paying attention to what the man was doing. Unfortunately, I paid that consequence with receiving a 900 degrees branding instrument to my back. Back to present. No matter what anyone says, you never can understand the feeling of being marked like this unless you've had it happen to you. It feels almost as if you lose the privilege of calling yourself a person and are deemed an object. Everyone was silent with this, with some of my classmates shaking from it. What happened after this? Todoroki spoke up, looking visibly disturbed outside of his calm demeanor. Torture. Every day, I was forced to work and do anything I was ordered. Whether it be manual labor to the point my hands bled, being a footstool until a crack in my spine was heard, or even a tool to get out all of my owner's personal anger. I dared not to call this out since I've seen time and time again that if anyone even tries to fight against the celestial dragons, they wouldn't live to tell the tale. Wait, so they'd kill people? Why aren't the Marines stopping them? Kaminari asked for Jiro to smack him. Because the celestial dragons own the Marines. She's right. Nobody dares even attempt to talk a celestial out of it due to the fact they hold all the power. And it's because of this, my master deemed it the right he holds to kick me, whip me, or even shoot parts of my body that weren't lethal but still were dangerous to leave. I suffered this nightmare for 2 years. 2 years of watching those around me be killed for no exact reason and being brought closer and closer to the edge of sanity. Beaten black and blue and bloody every day, forced to eat whatever scrap I was able to have, paraded around like I was nothing but a toy that could easily be thrown away the second I was no longer entertaining. All while having to force a smile. I never spoke unless forced to respond. The living quarters I was in regularly had someone die from infection or corpses left to rot and decay with nobody doing anything. This one, some of the older slaves to keep us younger ones from getting sick decided to at the very least throw the dead bodies off the side into the water just so we wouldn't all die from disease. Each day though, I looked at it as if this was the day I would die and tried to do anything to at least change that. I felt a small tear come out of my eye remembering this as well as the people shot in the head right next to me. Some weren't even that much older than me to force myself to keep from vomiting. I don't even have a word for it. Ryugu, I'm very sore. Don't even give me your apology. I don't want it. I was enraged when Spectacles wanted to apologize. Whether you think I deserve the apology or not is not the point here. I crawled through fucking hell in hopes to live the next day. Whether you find that horrible or not isn't what I care about. I did what I did and I don't care what you think. Everyone went silent again for Uraraka to speak up. How did you escape? This one. Was dumb luck. One day the celestial dragon that owned me had to go on a peaceful viewing, so the people could see what greatness is as they call it. He brought about 100 of us along as his own little playthings. 10 of us died in the process already with 60 crew members handling the ship. On our way back, a terrible ocean storm happened with our ship being capsized. Flashback to the storm. Where's the Saint and some of our crew? They took off on the only lifeboat. That was supposed to hold like 80 people. I overheard on top the crewmen trying to handle the boat with an opening in the lower deck catching my eye. Out of nowhere, a massive amount of water began flooding the boat with those of us below deck chained by our ankles. Crap, the ship's sinking. Several of the slaves tried their best to get off our cuffs with some trying to find a way to dislocate or sever the parts of the limbs attached. I was one of the earlier to have one of the adult slaves force my foot out of place and force the cuff on my ankle out before slamming it back where it should. Everyone above deck, now. We moved as fast as we could with the crew above noticing us and pointing guns at us. Get back. Stay down below where you should be. The ship is sinking. We need to leave on lifeboats no asterisk bang. One of the crewmen fired a gun to hit one of the slaves in the side. Like I'm listening to a slave. Get the hell back down no. The crewman stopped and lowered his weapon looking up in horror. We glanced back to see a massive tidal wave come up. The size was massive enough for us to be unable to determine just what we're looking at. For height. There's no way we'll survive that. Understanding now the reality that the chances of survival were exactly 0, I took one final look at my life to try and understand why this was happening. What led me to this situation where I have no chance at surviving? All I got was one thing. Humanity was the cause. Brace for impact. I did as the person said to hold something on the ship that was bolted down before having a giant wave splash towards me and make it impossible to see. Soon after, I blacked out with no idea what happened after. Back to present, third person POV. Izuku opened his eyes to look at everyone who was unable to sit comfortably in the slightest from how horrid they've heard their classmate has had it. After waking up, I found myself in the Ryugu kingdom. After that, the late queen took me in with the fishman who captained the Sun Pirates before Jinbei giving me the ability to live at least as a living being again. Izuku pulled his shirt off to show off the symbol of the sun on his back. This crest was formed with the intention to help cover and protect the slaves in the Sun Pirates. Now I get it, Hiroshima spoke up remembering his classmate's comment. When you said that burn on your back is to hide shame, it was your way of saying you were hiding that slave mark. Izuku nodded before standing up. Living as both a slave and a member of the Ryugu kingdom, I learned one extremely important thing about humans. He glared at everyone with a stare as if he was willing to commit murder. Never trust humans. They all lie and pretend that you're on equal footing when they'll look for anything at all to get the upper hand and use it to take you down. He walked away with nobody in the room wanting to say anything until they heard Izuku's door shut. I understand how you all may feel about Izuku, and to be fair, I don't blame you for being uneasy. Though his reasoning is flawed for not trusting people, Izuku has been through so much grief with humanity in the center of why it's happening. Please do not take this personally and think Izuku hates you all. The truth is, I think Izuku mainly hates himself. What do you mean? Sato asked for Shiarli to hold her head down. It's a story for another time. As the group spoke, Izuku held his back to his door as he lowered down and held his knees to his chest. When he did, he began silently sobbing into his knees, remembering his past and the scars internally and externally he had. Meanwhile with Bakugo, as the class learned of Izuku's upbringing a bit, Bakugo had been training with a certain someone in Class B. He was punched through a tree and into a boulder as the image of a green-haired woman was walking towards him. So my little brother knows how to use hockey too. Not just any, but the king's hockey. A smirk came on her face before looking at Bakugo. No wonder you lost to a hockey wielder. But losing to the pathetic slave. You disgust me, Kachin. Then again, you were never able to learn hockey so easily to begin with. Just give me a little more time and I'll put that loser back in his plagah. He was kicked in the jaw as the figure showed to be Izumi with an irritated glare on her. You tried and failed. There's no reason to hope for more from you. I see that if I want him to know his place, I'd have to put my idiot former brother in it myself. To help Fishman Island, Izuku had joined UA in hopes to aid in peaceful negotiations between his people and humans. In a shocking turn of events, Class A had learned of Izuku's dark past and discovered how deep-rooted his hatred of humanity is. Meanwhile, Bakugo had met with Izumi to inform her of what he had learned for her to be almost thrilled to meet her younger brother again. Izuku Pav, the weekend finally finished for me with waking up to feel Shiar's warm embrace in my bed. I smiled a little before my alarm went off to wake her up and moved to shut it off. I guess we'll have to get up now. I grumbled before hugging her tighter and smothering my face into her collarbone. I don't wanna get up yet. You just wanna stay in bed and enjoy more alone time with me, don't you, my love? I nodded my head for Shiar to pull my head up and look me in the eyes. That's too bad. You have school and I have to go meet with the girls coming up from Fishman Island today. She tapped my cheek before giving me her serious face. Now get up and get ready. I'm not going to let myself be the reason you skip school. Fine. I moved myself to start standing up and headed towards my closet. Thankfully, Nezu was able to make the room and our bed larger to accompany everyone when they came, with a bit of satisfaction on that part. By the way, how goes the search for new girls at the Mermaid Café you'll open up here? Very nicely. I was able to have Uraraka, Ashido, Asui, Jiro and Hagakuri join up as a way to help gain some extra cash for them. Ms. Yaoyorozu said she'd wish to help out from time to time, but isn't in a situation where she needs money. Probably because she gets all her money from her mommy and daddy. Snobby stuck-up rich girl. Izuku, what have we talked about with calling your classmates names? I groaned before letting her continue. Praline also promised to be a singer with Yamato, Carrot and Wanda helping as servers. Ulti even promised to be some hired help for Muscle in case someone as rowdy as you were already aware. Once things get up and running, we'll also bring a few people from the cafe in Fishman Island up upon authorization I was able to make by filing legal forms with the Japanese government. I'll probably have them work more the day shifts and have the students of UA work evening shifts to close earlier than normal on school nights. I did also request for the teachers to ask their students if they have anyone wishing to join up as well. Perhaps one night we do a male server night. You know, to draw in some women that are wishing for some attention. I started putting on my shirt and tying my tie before feeling Shiar hug my back. You know how much women can get lonely, don't you, Izuku? If I didn't know any better, I'd think you were going to pimp me out to women. If a woman at these even tries to come onto you, I will not think twice about biting their head off. Shiar began showing her sadistic side to turn me on a little. Your jealousy is showing, my dear. True, not a good thing to have happened. Immediately, Shiar calmed down to begin grabbing one of her blazers and covering her body up. How does this look? Great, but it would without a doubt look better on my floor. I smirked at this comment before getting smacked over the head for it. Okay, I deserved that. Come on, I'll make breakfast before you have to leave. You know Yamato missed your cooking so much while you were away. I can assume so. I picked Shiar up and began walking down towards the common area. There, we saw the jackass Bakugo making himself breakfast to turn to us and glare. Oh great, now the fucking dorm's gonna smell like shitty fish. Hey, nobody's saying anything about your stink. You literally sweat to use your quirk. Do you even realize how disgusting you smell half the time? Compared to dead fish, your stench is just as bad if not worse. I responded back with this irritating the ash blonde to glare at me. What, you wanna go? I'll kick your ass right here and not think twice. Bakugo glared at me before scoffing and walking away. That's what I thought, bitch. Didn't need to add the last part. Oh come on, you know he deserved it, Shiar. Doesn't mean you had to say it. I placed Shiar on a chair before going into the kitchen to make breakfast. Few hours later, after the morning finished up, Shiar began heading out to pick up the rest of the girls with myself and the rest of the class heading off to school. While sitting in the classroom, I could tell there was a level of tension around. Then again, it's not a shock since the other day they all knew what I went through. I doubt anyone would be able to find words to ease that tension. So Ryugu, Shiarli says you're a great cook. Yaoyorozu tried to break the ice a little with me not paying as much attention. Yep, is there any chance you could cook for us to try? If you want my cooking, order it at the Mermaid Café opening up. That's all I'm gonna say. You mean that hot place where a lot of sexy mermaids are gonna be? Hell yeah, I'm getting laid by MERMAI. I hit the small midget over the head from his comment about the girls at the cafe. It's an entertainment cafe, not a brothel. The only reason women in that cafe would look your way would be because you have money. Nobody would date you otherwise. Hey, I'm appealing. Everyone looked at the perv for a solid 10 seconds before I responded. No woman would want to date someone that looks like they'd be a cradle robber. Not only that, but you look like you'd have an STD or something. Some of the class snickered at this before I went back to what I was doing. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Mr. Aizawa slump in while in his sleeping bag to get near the podium. You all are getting good at shutting up quickly. Anyway, a few things before we start. First off, I was able to go over your results from the other day in your battle training. For the most part, you all did a good job. However, Bakugo. His statement made the ash blonde look up from what he was doing. Your actions during this were beyond unsafe and should be taken into consideration. If you try something dangerous like that to someone else again regardless of who, you will be deemed too dangerous as a hero and lose your spot in the hero course. Just because you have power doesn't always mean you should use it. Anyway, on to the second thing I have to say. This will determine your future in this school going forward. Everyone seemed to be afraid it was another assessment test before Mr. Aizawa explained what it was. You need to pick a class representative and vice representative. Everyone seemed to be a little more relaxed before starting a stupid flip out of who should be it. I wanna be a class representative. Me, I wanna do it. As class rep, I'll demand women all wear skirts that show off their ass. Yaoyorozu immediately beat the pervert over the head with a staff as a way to shut him up. Not saying he didn't deserve it, but I honestly could care less. The girls in short skirts. I thought of my fiancés wearing things and immediately became a little red from it. I need to kick that little perv later for making me think that. I nominate Ryugu. Everyone stopped for a second to look at Uraraka, who held her hand up. Why the fuck would we want a loser as our class rep? Bakugo shouted in anger before being explained why Uraraka thought this. Think about it. For the last few years, Ryugu's fought villains that came to Fishman Island, protected it from hunters, and had the respect of his kingdom's inhabitants. Also from what Shiarli said, he can juggle multiple things at once. I'd say it has to be him if we're taking that into thought. Well, when you put it that way, the dude is really manly to begin with, so he's got my vote too. Ryu is really tough on the outside, but I heard he's a huge softie from Shiar. Excuse me, but what did you hear about me? I got a little irritated that my own lover is saying things like this behind my back for Asui to speak up. Yeah, The angry look doesn't suit you. You're better off just avoiding making that face and not giving yourself premature wrinkles. Everyone started to laugh with it, now getting me annoyed. In all honesty though, do you not wish to do this, Ryugu? I rolled my eyes a little before answering Yaoyorozu. It's not like I don't want to. Then it's settled. Ryu is our new class rep. Everyone cheered for some reason, well everyone except Bakugo to make it somewhat annoying for me. Then who's the vice representative? I poked a hole in their logic before Yaoyorozu raised her hand. I can fill the part. Fine. Any objections? Besides you, blonde douche. Everyone laughed a little at my nickname for Bakugo with none of them having a problem. Well, so much for keeping my married life without problems from school. Few hours later, Charlie Pav. After leaving Ua, I had gone out of the area towards the building that would be the above-ground mermaid cafe to make sure everything was set before heading to the port in hopes to wait for everyone to come. Certainly enough, mine and Izuku's small group had arrived shortly after my arrival to be able to properly greet them. It's good to see you all came here safely. Yeah, whatever. Where's Izuku? I thought he wanted to come to see us. Ulti spoke up rather rudely for most of us to roll our eyes. Izuku had school. He did wish to come and greet you himself, but this was not possible. Well, that's nothing that we can control, is it? Reiju pointed this out for Ulti to still be angry for Carrot to laugh at her actions. To the corner of my eye though, Yamato seemed to be more attentive on something going on in an alleyway to make me ask about it. What do you see? Some weird guys with equipment on. They look like thugs. Gaining the interest of all of us, Yamato began walking towards that area with Ulti trying to stop her. Why should it matter if there's these stupid thugs here? They're just stupid villains. If I were to leave this as is, I would never be able to call myself the successor to Odin's name. Are you stupid? No, I'm curious. There's a difference. Not exactly in my case at some points in time. We decided to all follow suit and head towards the thugs to listen carefully to what they're saying. Once in ear range, we were able to hear them talk about an attack somewhere. So this portal guy is supposed to bring us to the USJ to attack All Might, right? Yeah, apparently he's a teacher to a bunch of students. What a load of crap. Hey, but maybe UA's got some sexy first years. I haven't had a good taste of a woman in almost a year. First years at UA, something tells me this has to do with Izuku's class. Meanwhile, Izuku Pav. After lunch finished, Aizawa had stood in front of the podium looking slightly more alive than he normally does to talk with us about what was going to happen today. Today you all will be heading off campus to a facility for rescue training. Since you all already know your limits physically with your quirks as well as how dangerous they can be when used on others, it's best now you learn how to use your powers to help people as you should as future heroes. He pressed a button for our costumes to be taken out of the wall before walking away. Wearing your costume is optional, but it's good to get used to the feeling of wearing it. Not seeing a point as to why I shouldn't, I grabbed my costume and began heading to the changing room. When I was finished, I went down to the buses with most of the class finishing up shortly after. Alongside them, there were a few different people coming with an arrogant blonde starting to mouth off. It seems Class A is finally able to bask in our righteous greatness. Ahahaha. Monoma. Knock it off before you tick off the wrong person. An orange-haired girl that had her hair tied in a ponytail shouted this with the idiot continuing to go. You fools think you're so superior because you're in Class A. However, Class B will prove they're far better because of us having the daughter of the heavenly demon on our Siga. Someone began choking the guy named Monoma from behind for him to look back in fear. I'm sorry. Forgive me. What a useless pawn you are. If it wasn't for you copying someone with a remotely decent quirk in the exams, you'd have never come to this school in the hero course in the first place. That voice, oh shit. The blonde dropped for Izumi of all people to be standing behind him. Been a long time, hasn't it, my sad little brother? I denounced you as my family the second you all left me. You have no right to call me that. I glared at her with anger as Izumi merely laughed it off and began walking towards me. She placed her hand up near my face with her fake smile on before visions of her torment by using me as practice for her quirk came to mind. I pulled away soon after with my breathing somewhat sporadic. Ah, are you all right, my dear little brother? She walked closer to whisper in my ear with a sickening satisfaction in it. At least you still know who's the superior of us. So play the hero all you want, it won't change a thing that you'll be nothing in the end. I wanted nothing more than to slug her right there and then. Too bad I didn't have the guts to even try it. Though I hated to admit it, Izumi was right. I'm still scared of her. Alright, Class A on the front bus and Class B on the one behind. Mr. Aizawa spoke up first to all start walking. Once I was on the bus, Kirishima decided to ask me if I was okay. Dude, you know that girl or something? Yeah, she's my former sister. Are you going to be okay seeing her again? You looked a little spooked before. Asui asked for me to nod. Let's just say, that was just bad memories coming back to the surface I'd rather forget. I remained quiet for the whole ride towards our destination with one thing remaining on my mind. How to avoid the grip my former sister still had on me. After a dark tale of Izuku's past, the class of 1A find themselves heading towards a rescue training facility. As they do, the class is met with their counterpart hero course members, Class 1B. Among them, Izuku is shocked and worrisome of reuniting with his former sister, Izumi Midoriya. Now he must find a way to overcome the fear he had faced as a child to remain who he wishes to be. Ochako Pav. Once everyone was on and started moving towards where we were going, I noticed Ryugu start looking like he was on the fence with something. On the outside, he just looked antsy, but his presence went from irritated to on the verge of a full-on panic mode. Things were notably worse when that girl calling herself his sister tried to touch him. I could just feel the fear and unease seep out of him almost like he was about to scream. Hey Ryugu, who was that girl before? Sue beat me to the punch asking for Ryugu to speak up. Izumi Midoriya. Biologically, we're twins. Wait, so she was the girl you said was the better of you two the other day. Ryugu didn't answer, but nodded at Kirishima. And unlike me, she's able to put you back in your fucking place, loser. Bakugo spoke up for all of us to glare at him. She did find it strange that you also had the Supreme Ruler's power or whatever she calls it and used it on 4 eyes. Supreme Ruler. I thought he used the Conqueror's Haki. Juro asked for Ryugu to clarify. The Supreme Ruler's power is another name for the Conqueror's Haki. From what I'm aware, those with Conqueror's Haki are destined for greatness since only 1 in a million can even use it. Bakugo. Am I to assume she can also use Haki? And if so, what types? All 3 from what she said. You wouldn't stand a chance against her. Bakugo kept gloating with a bit of satisfaction for Ryugu to ponder this. Wait. So you both have this Conqueror's Rulers whatever you call it. You said it was a 1 in a million chance someone has it. So what's that now? Like a trillion of a chance that you both could use it. Yes. Kaminari went wide-eyed with all of us alongside him. Something tells me this is why our adopted mother took a big interest in Izumi. She must have seen something in her at a young age that she didn't have with me. Not a shock knowing she'd want a power like that on her side. Who knows? Maybe Izumi will be a top executive of her mother's family or take over for her when she steps down. I've never heard Ryugu talk about his old family, so I wanted to know what he meant. Who's her mother? Our adopted mother when my name was Midoriya was the heavenly devil Don Quixote Doflaminga herself. A warlord. Would it make things more crazy if I told you I'm friends with Jinbei? I was having problems processing this with a lot of us handling the same. Wait. Let me just wrap my head around this right now so I understand. Your father married the heavenly devil after your birth mother died. You were taken out of this family and later became a prince to the royal family of Fishman Island. Somewhere along the line you became friends with former warlord Jinbei. What's next? You were buddies with Whitebeard. I shouted a little loudly for Ryugu to stare at me. Actually, I knew Whitebeard and thought he was a nice guy for a human. I'm also engaged to both Kaido and Big Mom's daughters, 2 high-ranking officials of Zo's Kings, and the only daughter of the ruler of Germa 66. I went silent there after hearing this to have my brain now hurt from everything that's happening. The rest of the group decided to stop talking since it was getting too much for us to handle at that point in time anymore. Soon enough, the bus stopped for Mr. Aizawa to stand up. We're here. Get off. As we walked off the bus, I noticed Midoriya get off the other bus to take a look at her costume. She wore a similar outfit to Doflamingo with the opening V down her shirt's center being a little smaller with a giant feathered coat that was white with pink tips on the ends of the feathers draped over her shoulders. From what she modeled herself as, it wasn't a shock that she was Doflamingo's daughter since she mirrored her fashion sense in her own hero costume. Greetings UA. I stopped my train of thought when I heard 13's voice to begin leaping for joy. My name is 13, the space hero, and today I shall be assisting you with hero training. Woohoo, 13 is one of my top favorite heroes. I let my inner 13 fan out for everyone to stare at me for a second. Sorry. What a pathetic person you are. I glared at Midoriya for her to smirk saying what she did. Getting overexcited for a pro hero. What are you, 5? At least I let go of superiority complexes and try to be a good person. I knew off the bat this woman wasn't nice from what Ryugu said to not exactly have kind words to say. I could feel her eyes glare at me though as if she was saying, "You're lucky we can't fight here," to me. 13 began explaining what we were doing with her saying the facility we are at called the Unforeseen Simulation Joint or USJ, which reminded me of the Universal Studios of Japan, was made to help us and pro heroes prepare for almost every natural disaster we'll most likely face in the real world in a controlled area. Upon walking in, I was beyond myself seeing just how big the area was to the point I had no words to describe how amazing it was. I somewhat hope I can train in that flood area over there. I'd be in my element there. Ryugu pointed this out to smile a little knowing he felt a little satisfaction here. Cool, they even have fake villains here. Hiroshima spoke up first to look down and see a bunch of people come out of what looked like a portal. Once they were out, the portal turned into someone covered in black mist for an ominous feeling to come off of him, a guy with hands on himself, and a funny-looking person with a bird beak and what looked like its head. I'm gonna tell you right now, dumbass. Those are the real deal. Ryugu bluntly answered this as the hand villain spoke up. We are the League of Villains. And we've come to kill All Might. The villain began looking around to see All Might wasn't here before continuing. What the hell, he was supposed to be here. No matter, I wonder how many of these brats we can kill before he actually comes here. I could feel the menacing aura around the guy for me to know that he meant every word he said. Vlad, with me, 13. Protect the students. Mr. Aizawa and Vlad King jumped into battle with Ryugu immediately going to the door. Kaminari, with me. He ran for the entrance before the mist villain came in front of him. Pardon our intrusion. We are the League of Villains. We've come to kill All Might but he doesn't seem to be here. Might there have been a change in the schedule? Yeah, and it gives you a fucking beating. Bakugo and Kirishima charged at the mist guy with Ryugu jumping back. Hold up. Something's off with this one. He tried to warn them with the two getting covered in that mist stuff with the villain ensnaring all of us in the black mist stuff. It seems this will be harder than we originally hoped. Now, disperse. I didn't know what was going on until Shoji covered me with some of our other classmates and some Class B members in order to help stop whatever he was doing. When we were able to see again, most of the class was gone. Where'd they go? I have a bad feeling about this. Mina started to worry about something catching my senses. I can still sense them. Did they just get transported to other parts of the USJ? With Izuku, third-person Pav, Izuku began falling to look to his side and see Sue and Mineta from his class alongside Kendo who was Class B's representative and a girl with blonde hair and horns. I'm not ready to die yet. Mineta started screaming with Izuku diving down faster. He hit the water and immediately used Fishman karate to manipulate it. Ocean current shoulder throw. He used the water to create a sliding effect to lighten the fall into the water for everyone with them landing in a nest of villains. Time to make these chumps chum. A villain with a mutation quirk came over to try and attack Izuku to make the group panic. This failed on the villain's half with his teeth shattering when he made contact with Izuku's shoulder. What the hell is your shoulder made of? Steel. It's the results of my training. 4,000 tile brick fist. Izuku punched the villain in the gut to have him go flying towards the shore. Find somewhere out of the water. He's not alone. Everyone agreed to swim towards a lifeboat. Izuku was about to do the same before he noticed someone drowning in the water. Help me, somebody. BL. I can't cough, I can't swim. Remembering the voice, Izuku swam over to grab the person and take them with him. Once on the boat, the group of 4 stared at Izuku as he let the person down on the deck. Ryugu. Who's that? One of my fiancés. Yamato. Everyone stared down at the massive girl in comparison to Izuku, for those who knew surely to look back at Izuku slightly less confused due to the size ratio. Yamato. Get up. Not responding, Izuku began getting up before cannonballing on her stomach for a geyser of water to spew out of Yamato's mouth before waking up. Geez, that devil fruit doesn't do you justice when it comes to water. Getting up and looking around at the group, Yamato smiled at Izuku, still sitting on her lap. Hey Izuku, nice to see you found yourself a comfy seat. I was trying to get the water out of you. Ah, you don't have to be modest in wanting to show me love in front of your classmates. Yamato patted Izuku's head for him to scowl a bit. What are you doing here to begin with? Isn't Shiar picking you and everyone else up? She was, but I found these weirdos saying they were gonna kill All Might and invade Ua. I jumped in to take them on before a portal opened or something. I was sucked in and found myself in the middle of this place. Which reminds me, where am I? You're in a rescue training facility called the USJ. In short, the people you were going after were villains that want to kill All Might, with a funny hand-looking guy leading the charge with a guy of mist and a bird-beaked guy backing him up. Walking to the edge of the boat to see the villains around them, Izuku began making a safe conclusion. They most likely don't know much about us, since if they did, they'd put me somewhere without as much water. Probably that area over there. He motioned to the fire zone before pulling out his katana. That's gonna be a big mistake on their end. Izuku pulled his blade up before slashing it downwards towards the water. Waterfall tide split. An opening was made in the water to drop the boat onto the ground with all the villains trapped in the split water. Unbelievable. Get going now before the water comes back. Izuku shouted for everyone to run alongside him to avoid being trapped in the water after it would come colliding back to them. With Bakugo. As the group was separated, Bakugo found himself in an area with crumbling buildings with Izumi and Kirishima. Die you fucking bastards. He blasted a villain through a wall with Izumi not paying nearly as much mind. Not bad. But these are just fodder villains basically. Giving praise for beating them isn't worth much. A villain decided to attack Izumi with hard dodging and sending him flying into a wall by hardly putting her hand on him. If you want praise, take out the leader in the center. Izumi walked away with Kirishima shivering a little. No wonder Ryugubro is uneasy with her. She's a natural-born sociopath. Bakugo didn't say anything as he continued walking away. Even Bakugo doesn't want to get her ticked off. Just what type of nut job is she? With Izuku. Getting to the shore, Izuku, Yamato, Tsu, Mineta, Kendo and Pony hid by the edge of the flood zone looking into the plaza. There, they watched their teachers face off against the villains, but were inevitably outmatched and brutally beaten by the being with its head open to reveal its brain. Welp, I'm hopping in to kick butt. Before Yamato could do that, Izuku held his katana out in hopes to stop her. Don't get involved. That thing seems to be wrong somehow. It's almost like the thing's dead. As they spoke, a sudden sense of danger came to both Yamato, and Izuku pointed directly at Tsu. Izuku. I feel it. Before anyone could react, the hand villain came at Tsu, with Izuku able to pull his blade out with the brain villain attacking him and Yamato attacking the brain villain. This forces the 4 into a standoff. Yamato. I'll handle these two. Get Mr. Aizawa and Vlad King to safety. I'm not leaving you to deal with both these guys alone. Trust me when I say I can handle myself. It's also going to be easier for you to move them compared to me. Weighing her options, Yamato began heading for the teachers in hopes to help them. Where do you think you're going? Nomu. Kill the bitch over there. The being called Nomu did as he was told to go after Yamato. In retaliation, Izuku gave a solid punch to the creature to force ripples in its body and send it back. This however did next to nothing as the beast stood back up acting like it was fine. You're not going to kill Nomu like that. He has shock absorption. Simply punching him won't work since he was made to defeat All Might. I see. So it will take more than just hitting him. A massive fire came to engulf the Nomu for all to turn and see Izumi walking out of the zone she was in with confidence. Why don't you go play in the water like a good boy, little brother? Leave killing these fools to me. Hearing this comment, Izuku was enraged at his sister to take another stance. If these bastards have the balls to go after one of my fiancés, then I have no problem ripping them apart. After a not-so-heartwarming encounter with his twin sister, Izuku in the first years of the hero course head towards the USJ. There, they were ambushed by a group called the League of Villains who wished to kill All Might. During this, the classes were separated and Izuku reunited with Yamato shortly after. Now, he faces a dangerous threat of the monstrous beast called Nomu with Izumi prepared to fight as well. With Ulti, third-person POV. As the battle with the League of Villains came to be, Ulti and Reiju rushed towards the facility themselves using the technology of Germa 66. "Your flying still sucks," says the woman who forced me to head towards the USJ while being carried on my back. Prior to this ordeal, Ulti had attempted to stop Yamato from jumping headfirst into a portal teleporting people to the USJ. This was met with a failure on her part to turn and demand Reiju travel there herself. She agreed, but was met with the beast pirate hitching a ride on her back. How far away are we from this USJ thingy? From what I remember, it's only a few more kilometers away. We'll be there in a few minutes. That takes too long. Go faster, 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 faster. Ulti started shaking around on Reiju's back for the Vinsmoke to be somewhat irritated by this. I can't go faster because you are on my back. My technology isn't made to carry more than my own weight. Are you saying I'm fat? No, I'm saying my equipment isn't meant to hold anyone else but me because it was created for me personally. Now getting angry with the conversation, Reiju focused more on flying than talking with Ulti. At the USJ, you both think you're able to kill Nomu. How funny. The hand villain began laughing at this for him to turn towards Nomu. Nomu, kill the girl first, then go for the boy. If she thinks she'll be able to beat you, then she deserves to know how wrong she is. The beast began charging at Izumi for her to catch the fist with her hand. Izuku realized what happened to see a darkened coating of haki on where the fist impacted his former sister's palm. Is that really the best you can do? Looking down, Izumi did realize that she was pushed back notably from the monster. If this thing was really meant to kill All Might, then it could be as strong as one of the top executives at least. So how should I counter this? 40,000 brick fist. Izuku came storming at the villain to punch its head and send it a distance. What the hell are you doing? I don't need a weakling's help. Oh, shut up. If this thing was meant to kill All Might, then it's good to have some backup. I can handle this on my own. Why don't you go play with the fishes like you prove you prefer to do, or just drop dead somewhere so you'll be less of a problem for everyone? Izuku glared at Izumi in anger before seeing the hand villain go for their classmates still hiding in the edge of the zone. Don't try to be sneaky, you pathetic excuse for a villain. She fired a blast of fire directly at the villain, forcing him to pull back and put the four in the water in direct range of it. Get down, Kendo shouted for everyone to hide in the water as she enlarged her hand to protect them. This caused her right palm to get notably burned for it to enrage Izuku. What the hell was that? You knew they were in your range of fire and you did that anyway. It's their own fault for not escaping when they did. If they had any sense of understanding, they'd leave the battlefield if they can't stand up in a fight. If you ask me, they asked to get caught in the middle. They asked. Some of those classmates were mine. You think they asked to be in the middle of a fight that they have to go around just to get somewhere safe? Izuku shoved his sister for her not to be happy about this. Don't you dare touch me, freak. She pushed back with the Nomu coming to attack them. They jumped back with Izumi creating a whip of fire. Overheat. She attacked the Nomu for it to dodge and the attack to slash Izuku's shoulder. You bitch. Stay out of my way and you won't get hurt. Now enraged, Izuku went after the Nomu himself for Izumi to refuse to let this happen. The bastard's mine. 40,000. Roundhouse. Izuku gave a kick to send the in-air Nomu barreling back. Unfortunately, Izumi was in the way to send her into the ground under the beast. Getting the monster off her, Izumi started yelling at Izuku. The hell you fucking bastard. That was an accident. And what about your words there about those that can't fight staying out of the way and deserving it? I don't need to hear that from someone that thinks necessary casualties are a problem. Necessary. I may not be one for heroics myself, but I know for a damned fact no hero would look at people that they'd attack themselves without intentions as necessary casualties. Big talk coming from fucking property. Izuku stopped Izumi's sentence in its tracks by slapping her across the face. How dare you? A piece of crap that's so low that they'd affiliate with bottom feeders like fishmen. Raise a hand to me. Izumi coated her fist in hockey and lit it on fire with her quirk to punch Izuku in the stomach. He was sent a distance with a notable burn on his stomach in the shape of Izumi's knuckles. I'm gonna make you pay for thinking that's even right. Izumi charged at Izuku with her leg being pulled back. She gave a jump kick to Izuku for him to block it with his own hockey-coated leg and using Fishman karate to create ripples. Oh, how heroic, fighting someone who's trying to help others. You and Bakugo truly are psychos, you know that. After what you've done to me, I'm surprised the school lets someone so unhinged like you walk around freely. The flames on Izumi's kick grew stronger for them to break the standoff with their kicks. Getting her footing back on the ground, the green-haired woman coated her right fist with hockey for Izuku to do the same. They collided and created a massive shockwave. Both sides had activated their conqueror's hockey for those around to be pushed back, unable to get close. When they couldn't get past either one's defenses, Izumi and Izuku pulled their fist back and gave simultaneous barrages to clash their armament-coated fists together, going back and forth to make the ground under them start to crack from the pressure. This is getting nowhere. Nomu. Kill them both. The Nomu stormed at the two twins who were more focused on attacking one another to not fully realize what was happening on the surface. However, they realized the oncoming threat to glare at the Nomu and aim for its head. Stay out of this. Both shouted as Izuku and Izumi punched the Nomu with their armament-coated fists mixed with either Izumi's fire quirk or Izuku's Fishman karate. The act made the Nomu's head rip off and the opening seared shut to make any form of reattachment impossible. The head flew out and towards the wall on the opposite side of the facility and created a massive crater before revealing the mangled-up remains of what it was. Okay, that was something I wasn't prepared to see today. Yamato points this out, returning in hopes to give Izuku some backup to take on the villains. Needless to say, he didn't need it and was able to handle himself against Izumi in some way. Quote, "You cheated." The hand villain glared at the wall where the Nomu's head was before shouting in rage. You cheated, you cheaters. Oh please. Nothing is fair in a fight and you of all people being a villain should understand that. Now, come quietly or I'll have some fun tormenting you. Izumi smirked at the villain with Izuku holding his hand out. Don't tell me you're having sympathy for someone that tried to kill you. Do you have any form of self-respect? As much as I'd love to see you torment this guy for trying to harm my fiancé, we need him alive to give information as well as none of us have any authority to do anything other than subdue him. This is where people like you are idiotic. You think people will follow the rules if you simply enforce them. Look at him. The chances he'll tell us willingly what he knows is slim at best. Izumi held her hand up in a finger pistol manner before shooting off a small pressurized bit of fire. Ember bullet. The attack was sent towards the villain for him to dodge and unintentionally hit Pony, who was trying to get out of the area when the group saw the Nomu dead. Ah, Pony. Kendo panicked and tried to help her classmate with Sue helping. Yamato, get them out of here and help the girl. Izuku shouted in fear for the Class B student's safety before shoving Izumi. What the hell was that? We have him cornered. There's no reason to do something so brutal as that. If she knew better, she'd get out of the way. Never question me again, you hear me? Izumi pushed back for both to prepare for another fight before Izuku saw a portal open behind Izumi showing the hand villain's hand. Remembering what just a touch did to his own teacher to destroy his elbow, Izuku shuddered to think what it could do to a person's neck. In the heat of the moment, Izuku shoved Izumi out of the way and was prepared to take the hit in her place. Damn it, I reacted on my own. Well, there's worse ways I could have died. Sorry everyone for leaving you like this. Before the hand villain could touch Izuku, the top of the facility broke open to show something falling from the sky and creating a crater near Izuku. As the smoke cleared, a figure emerged from the indented floor to reveal Ulti. Izuku, it's been too long. Care to tell me what you have been up to? Ulti responded in a cheerful was before stopping when she saw Izuku with some scuffs and a notable injury to his shoulder. Who did that to you? Was it this villain, or your cheap knockoff over here? I'm older than my idiot brother. If anyone's a knockoff here, it would be this quirkless reject. Izuku rolled his eyes before answering. Yes, it was the hand man. What? Yamato walked over towards Izuku to correct him. What the hell are you talking about? The slice on your shoulder was Chow. Izuku pinched her side in a way to stop her. Yes, the hand villain over there did this. Go nuts. A shadow came over Ulti's forehead before turning to the hand villain. I see, your dead hand job. Transforming into her Pachycephalosaur's form, Ulti charged towards the villain with her head pulled up. I'll turn your skull into dust. Sir, we do not have what it takes to handle one of the Tochirapo of Kaido's faction. We need to leave now. The mist villain had teleported the two of them away with Ulti attempting to prevent them from running unscathed. Only pussies run. The beast pirate slammed her head into the ground to create a massive crater along with a notable level of wind gust for all around to be pushed back a little. When the dust settled, Ulti glared at the direction in which she was heading, clearly angry. I missed. Damn it. I'll get you twice as bad next time, handjob. Your head's gonna be nothing when I headbutt you. Geez, that girl is crazy scary. Kendo pointed out, coming closer towards Izuku, who seemed to be unfazed. Ulti is a high-ranking member of the Emperor Kaido's faction. It's only natural that she has that much power. If she didn't, she'd be no better than a gifter. Izuku winced in pain while holding his shoulder as adrenaline in him finally calmed down to feel the actual damage done to his shoulder from Izumi's stray attack. Izuku. Yamato ripped the part of his shirt where the injury was to see what looked like a cut that almost sliced his arm off. Crap, we gotta get you help. Not yet. TCH, get everyone from the zone safe first. I won't die from something like this. On cue, several teachers bashed through the door with all might, leading the charge. The first course of action was to protect the students and detain the villains still present, with Ulti walking over to sit next to Izuku. Put Izuku's head on my lap. Yamato stared at her father's underling, confused before responding. What? Just do it. She did as the Tochirapo said and placed Izuku on her lap. As he sat there, Ulti began asking a few questions to Izuku. Why did you lie about who hurt you? If you went after Izumi, that could be considered an attack on Doflaminga's faction. It would end at best with your head. At worst, it could end with a war against Big Mom and Kaido. Unlike some people, I'm not willing to make unnecessary sacrifices and try to avoid as many as possible. Izuku glared at Izumi while saying this before Recovery Girl came over to start treating him. She was about to start treating Izumi next before Izuku stopped her prior to losing consciousness to say to help Pony before her, since she had a far worse injury that might be dangerous if left longer. She agreed to head off towards the bottom of the steps where the horned blonde was holding her shoulder in hopes to control the bleeding. As this occurred, Yamato walked over to grab Izumi's shirt and lift her in the air. What the hell is your problem? I don't care if you say sacrifices are needed at times, but that doesn't mean that you should just attack wildly and say anyone that gets in the way is a necessary casualty. Yamato. Reiju came down from the opening in the ceiling to land beside both. It's not worth it. Her type won't understand. Yamato glared at Izumi for a second before dropping her a few feet back to the ground. Do something like that to Izuku again and I'll count it an act of war on the Ryugu kingdom and ask Kaido to take you down. Understand? Izumi was enraged at this before walking away, not wanting anything to do with Izuku or his wives anymore. Filthy slaves shouldn't have the right to talk with Kaido. Only having the pleasure of seeing him once but never able to speak to him, Izumi felt absolute anger towards Izuku before getting to the stairs. If he wants to play this game, fine. I'll have him taken down with the full might of the Don Quixote family behind it. Name: Izumi Midoriya. Age: 20. Izumi is Izuku's older twin sister by a few minutes. Unfortunately, their late mother Inko died shortly after giving birth to Izuku. A couple of months after their birth, their father Hisashi had remarried to the heavenly devil Don Quixote Doflaminga. Her quirk manifested at a young age, which unfortunately developed a superiority complex with her, alongside the fact Izumi was developing faster for her age. As such, she's deemed a prodigy and a genius in how she can use her power. Izumi's personality can be rather cold and manipulative as a way to resemble her stepmother as well as the proclaimed princess of Dressrosa with ties that could make almost anyone regret crossing her. As such, she is not the type of person you'd like to anger. Likes: heroes, the Don Quixote family, fine dining, being praised, fire. Dislikes: weaklings, celestial dragons, Izuku, mutation quirk users, anyone that has body alterations at all to look less human, fishmen, minx, being told she's wrong. Skills and abilities: quirk, enhanced fire. Izumi can control and manipulate fire as if it was clay itself. Her training with Doflaminga had made her skills resemble more like threads being pulled like a puppet master. She can increase the heat of her flames, however she'll suffer the drawback of dehydration faster. Hockey: just like her younger brother, Izumi has strong control over all three forms of hockey. Thanks to Doflaminga, she also has found ways to mix her hockey with her quirk to create powerful attacks with more damage capable to be done than before. 6 powers. Thanks to her mother's influence, Izumi has been able to learn all 6 of the cipher pole abilities. Leadership: Izumi had been taught at a young age how to be a leader from Doflaminga. In her way of saying it, casualties are inevitable and those that are under your most valued allies should be looked at as possible ones. The priority, however, is to handle the immediate threat and not focus on anything else. Narrow-minded, but not a bad way of mindset if you don't have any other priorities around you. After an invasion of the USJ, Izuku had fought to assist his classmates as he did. During this, his sister Izumi had fought the villains that had invaded. However, the two had struggled to work together with the worst to come for them. It was only at the last second that Ulti and Reiju had come in to assist in forcing the League of Villains to flee. Reiju Pav: alright, this gel I have is going to increase the healing process for your cells to close up the opening. However, the skin will be very delicate until your body naturally finishes the healing process. You'll also feel a slight burning sensation when it is active. After being released to the dorms, I had went through my things to find some medical products to help in case something unpredicted happened. So who are these Sluao? Ulti immediately headbutted a blonde-haired fool with an anger problem into the ground as he began insulting us. The next time you call me a slut, I'm going to turn your skull into dust. Just WHO are these people? A blonde boy with a lightning bolt asked for Wanda to speak up. How about we go around the room and introduce ourselves? This way we can avoid problems. My name is Wanda. I'm a dog minx from the kingdom of Zo. I'm also what's called a king bird who serves both our kingdom's rulers. I'm Carrot and I'm a rabbit minx. I'm also a king bird. I'm Ulti and I'm part of the Tobarapo of the Beast Pirates. I'm Yamato. I'm the daughter of Kaido. Ah, they're Kaido's men. A small pervert panicked before being smacked over the head by the front side of Charlie's pipe before she put it back in her mouth to smoke it. Moving on. My name is Reiju. I'm the first daughter of the Germa 66 Kingdom. Wait, you mean the comic book from the newspaper? A girl with a ponytail and black hair asked for me to nod. For the most part, Germa 66 does exist and is a secret kingdom primarily consisting of warmongers. And I guess I'm last up. My name's Praline and I'm the 21st daughter and the 47th child of the Charlotte family. Isn't that Big Mom the Emperor? A girl with aux cords asked for Praline to nod. Okay, so let me get this straight. Ryu, you're engaged to one of the Emperor Big Mom's daughters, Kaido's daughter and one of his secondary top officers, a rabbit and a dog, the daughter of a war kingdom and a shark mermaid who also happens to be the owner of a cafe for mermaids to entertain sailors on the ocean floor. The pink-skinned girl asked for Izuku to think about what she said to nod. I swear the more we learn about you, the more confusing things are. Not my fault. Alright, I can put this on you whenever you're ready. I tried to push the matter at hand for Izuku to hold his hand out for a second. Before you put it on me, I want someone to go to Class B and get that girl with the horns who was hurt as well as the large fist girl. I think their names were Kendo and Pony or something. Why? The brunette asked for Izuku to glare at her. Because. Bring them here and I'll explain it. Some of the class went towards the dorms to grab the 2 people Izuku asked for a few minutes to pass. The door opened up for an orange-haired girl with a ponytail and a blonde girl with horns and eyes that reminded me of a horse to walk in. You're Ryugu, right? Your classmates said you wanted to see us. Izuku looked at me before at the girls. Reiju, see what you can do to help them. I didn't have a reason to argue it to see what I can do for them. Kendo's your name, right? I'm going to put a cream on to help create a cooling sensation on your skin to heal it from the burns. You'll probably have some numbness during the day. Ms. Pony, I'm going to give you a similar healing agent I'll put on Izuku after. It'll fasten the healing process to close it, but the cells will be more delicate until it strengthens. Is this safe to use? Also, why are you helping us? Izuku got up while holding the arm to avoid more damage to his shoulder. You two were caught in the crossfire. I wouldn't feel right if I left you in the state you're in and heal myself. It's not much, but it's at least a form of sympathy I'm trying to give for people that didn't have to get hurt. Oh, well thank you then. Pony had said this for me to start rubbing the liquid cell agent I was using to help her and Izuku on. By the way, this is going to hurt like someone's burning your flesh in about 5 seconds. You could have told me this before you ahhhhhhh. It burns. It burns. It burns. Pony rolled around on the ground for all of us to watch her. How long is this going to last? Kendo asked for Pony to stop rolling when the burning sensation stopped. Never mind. I turned to Kendo next to put the burn cream on her hand for her reaction to be a little better and just feel her hand's abnormal numbness. Once she was done, I turned to Izuku and had him pull his shirt off. The damage on his shoulder was by far much worse than both combined. I still think you should have let me help you first. It's not as bad as it is. Your arm is literally hanging on by a thread right now, and if the injury was agitated anymore, you would have had your entire arm ripped off. Now hold still. I placed the liquid cell on him for a notable amount of steam to come off, making everyone worry. Hey, Ryu bro, you okay? I'm fine. Kirishima, you sure? Cause your arm steaming. This is nothing. The steaming finally stopped to show Izuku's arm at least put together enough where the threat of it ripping off wasn't as serious anymore. He grabbed his shirt to place it back on him, with Wanda grabbing a sling for him to keep his arm in. I have to admit, your pain tolerance is amazing. The amount of pain you would have been in would be easily 10 times more than you would have Pony. Congratulations on explaining something I already knew. Anyway, I really do feel sympathy for you two being brought into this. It's not your fault. It's Midoriya's fault more than yours if we're playing a blame card. Kendo tried to avoid blaming Izuku for him not accepting this as much. Maybe, but I still hold some responsibility being one of the two fighting and unable to handle it in an efficient way. I was about to stand up and help comfort Izuku before the door was kicked open and showed the Izumi girl visibly angry. Where are you, you piece of shit? Izuku got up from where he was sitting for Izumi to grab his shirt collar. You think you can just waltz in and take my classmates and act like the fucking saint? You're nothing but a fucking piece of shit on the side of the road. Izumi, please calm down. Izumi pushed Pony out of the way and tore open the still tender skin on her injury while she was trying to de-escalate the situation. Stay out of this, you disgusting horse's whore. She began turning to go after her before Izuku grabbed her shirt collar. You think now that you're some kind of prince that you're all strong and courageous. Leave her out of this. The girl did nothing wrong and only came here because I asked my classmates to bring her here. And you think you're in a position that makes you superior enough to do that? Poor little Izuku, the prince of disgusting fish with filthy pirates, fish wives, a warmonger, a dog who most likely bites her own ass, and a rabbit who probably is lifeless in bed. I'd laugh at your life if it wasn't so pathetic. What did you call me, you little? Charlie held her hand out for ulti to stop mid-sentence. Izuku's grip tightened with the situation beginning to look as if a fight was about to break out. I hope you know, you were never even worth mother's time. To be fair though, you're just as much a failure as our birth mother. Hey, Ochako spoke up first to look at her. I don't know who you think you are or why you act the way you do, but that's your brother. Not only that, but you're insulting your own birth mother. I don't know who your mom is, but I can almost guarantee she'd never want either of you to say what you are saying or fight with each other. You're right, you don't know who she is and neither do we. Izumi spoke up for Ochako to look at her. All we know about her is that she was weak, and thus died bringing this weakling into the world after me. But you're wrong on another thing. We're no longer family, and that's something even the failure agrees with. We denounced him as our kin when he was 6. So if you wish to act like you're the saint, go ahead. You're honestly nothing more than a fool playing in a game far above you. Izumi held her hand up with fire coming out of it aimed at Ochako. It adjusted to be condensed into her fingertips and came out looking like small pins. Hey, Midoriya, that's enough. Swine need to know where they stand, Kendo. Just as you two fail to understand where you do. We all prepared for a fight with Izuku tightening his grip on his sister. She glared at him with his face not having it. What, are you going to start a fight with me? Keep in mind, I'm a top executive of the Don Quixote family. You fight me, and your protection from Kaido goes bye-bye. And then a mass war against the Big Mom pirates and the Beast pirates come into play. But if you go after one of my classmates for speaking out of line for my own safety, I will deem that a declaration of violence which turns the tides with Kaido and your family. She glanced around for everyone to be ready to attack Izumi with Izuku smirking. Go ahead, attack, I dare you and see what happens. Izumi pulled herself away from Izuku and started walking away. Tsunatori, Kendo, don't ever talk to my former brother again. I see it again, and you'll be getting worse punishment. They're still our class's enemies. She left for the door to be slammed. Yamato, is she far enough away? Izuku asked for Yamato to check. Yes. Good. Izuku fell over for all of us to worry and rushed to make sure he's okay. During the little ordeal, Izuku's arm held too much agitation to open it up again. Tsunatori, are you all right? Yes. Thank you for defending me and Kendo. I wasn't defending you. I was trying to make sure that fool of a woman didn't do something stupid. Also, Uraraka, he turned to Ochako with a neutral face on. Stay out of mine and that woman's business. Though I hate to admit it, she's right. We're no longer family and have no clue about the woman that gave birth to us. It's better off walking away from. Izuku got up and walked to his room with Mina stopping him. She was only trying to help. You don't have to be rude and insult your mom by calling her just the woman that gave birth to you. Honestly, what has that woman done for me? Give her life to put me through hell. Turn me into property. Make me watch my family right now fall apart. Whether her decision to keep us was kind or not, I'm not dwelling on what type of person my birth mother could be. It's not worth my time thinking these things when I have bigger problems. Izuku walked up towards his room for the sound of his door opening and shutting being heard. Well, that was just rude. Perhaps, but he isn't wrong, Ms. Hagakure. I sat calmly down while explaining to her what I knew. It's prejudice saying someone would rather something when you genuinely have no clue who the person is. As such, both are right. Nobody has any right to say what Izuku's birth mother would most likely prefer among the two of them. Not even Izuku or Izumi themselves, since they never actually got the chance to know the woman that brought them into the world. I pulled out a book I have been reading to open it to where my bookmark was. Family is complicated a large amount of times, especially if you have family troubles like Izuku does. Well, I still want to thank Ryugu for what he's done for me and Pony. He didn't have to do that. I'll make sure he gets it. Shiarly spoke up for Pony and Kendo to leave and return the dorm room to the silence it was before Izumi's outburst inside. At least I know Izuku is still the kinder member of his birth family at the moment. I just hope maybe he'll find some solace if he finds out about his mother and if she is a kind person. After a grueling battle at the USJ, Izuku and class had found themselves recovering in the dorms. Due to the medical technology from Reiju built by Germa 66, Izuku, Pony and Kendo had all hastened their recovery from the ordeals. As this happened, many had begun seeing Izumi's true colors as well as understand how toxic the relationship between her and Izuku really is. Izuku Pav, my alarm began going off for me to get up. Today, school started back up first with everything from the USJ incident being done and behind us for the most part. There was, however, one little thing that became a big problem for me. Can they please finish the new room for me and the girls? My bed's a little overloaded and I'm amazed it hasn't broken yet. Since the living quarters for me and my fiancés weren't going to be done for another few days, I was stuck being submerged in everyone with it starting to get really uncomfortable cramped. I reached for the alarm before feeling something rather soft in my hands. Izuku, I didn't know you became so bold in the morning. I glanced over to see my hand holding Praline's chest to give a blank stare at her. I know, I'm getting it. I got it. Carrot commented with a tired tone for her to climb over me and hit the snooze button. Unfortunately, we were all balanced to the point where her changing her lying position threw us all off balance and tossed us all off the bed. Somehow during it, I found myself on the bottom with Reiju seeing this coming and sitting on top of the pile in the buff. Can someone tell me why you sleep the way you do? I get a little hot during the night with clothes on. I prefer keeping as cool as possible. Why? Do you not think I look appealing enough as is? To be honest, it keeps me from being able to sleep comfortably when I have your bare chest on me. Ignore that I said anything, it's not important anymore. Hey. WHO moved. Ulti woke up clearly angry to pull her head up and push herself up and have her sit on my head. Can you get off me, please? It's bad enough I'm feeling a little crushed right now. I don't need to be SAT on to add insult to injury. Ulti looked down at me before shrieking. Kya. Izuku is releasing his carnal desires so early in the morning. I wanted my first to be enjoyable with nice alcohol and a fancy bed. Not on the floor in front of people. What the heck are you talking about? Wanda asked for me to finally free myself and stand up. As much as I'd love to hear you shriek and make comments like those all day, I have to get ready for school. I went into the closet to grab my uniform to try and put my pants on and notice I had my boxers get pulled off. Alright, who has my boxers? Yamato pulled her hand out of the pile with my boxers in them to have me grab them and put them on. I continued to get ready with Shire pushing Reiju up to breathe. They really need to finish that new living quarters for us. This is becoming very painful to do as a morning routine now. Who's on my tail? Sorry. Carrot moved for everyone to finally be free from the pile and fall on the ground. I'm with you on that one. Nezu said there were some issues, but it should be done in about 2 more days. I glanced at the mirror for a second to make sure I tie my tie correctly before putting on my blazer. But on a positive note, today is the opening of the Mermaid Café above shore. That's something that you could feel happy about. I'm actually really excited. We were able to get things done much faster than I planned. I almost feel like I did when the Mermaid Café on Fishman Island was first opened. Unfortunately, we still need a cook for when you're in school. We'll have to be only partially open until then. I hope you don't mind that I took the liberty of putting up ads for cooks hoping something could fit. Actually, I was about to do that myself. Thank you for thinking ahead. My tail is not a floor mat. Ulti. Shire shouted for Ulti to realize where she was getting up to move a little to the side. I'm gonna go get breakfast ready. I walked out of the room with Mineta right in front of my door. What do you want? I'll pay you whatever price you can give if I can just swap places with you for one night. I raised my eyebrow for a second with him going into detail. All those gorgeous boobs and asses rubbing against each other. Losing yourself in the sensation as your entire body is smothered before feeling an erection that could only be cured by one of the gorgeous babes sliding you inside there. I grabbed him to immediately throw him through the wall on the other side of the dorms with him shouting in response. Can't you take a rain check? Bastard. They're my wives, so why should I let some disgusting little sticky gremlin who smells like a squid come between them and defile the sanctity of our... And here I thought you hated being married to us. So protective. I turned to the door to see Carrot, Yamato and Praline with smug faces on them to scowl at what they were cocky about. I'm going to get coffee. I walked down the steps to see Ida talking with some of the guy classmates of ours. When he saw me, he immediately went into his usual stupid lecture spree. Ryugu. Good morning. I hope that you have slept well. Though I have asked you, I see you have yet to officially see the file that I have sent to you over your school email about the dangers of sexually transmitted diseases and unprotected sex. Ida. Unless you want to be Mineta who was thrown through a wall a minute ago, I'd shut up. My father already gave me a talk and STDs and sex ed are taught in the Ryugu kingdom. You don't need to tell me how I live with my wives as well as the fact that all of us are clean and have no reason why to not be. Also, if we have a baby, that's our business. Which reminds me to ask Ulti a question since she ate an ancient zone type if she lays eggs or has babies normally. Probably the latter, but the question is still there. I walked into the kitchen where I began pulling out things to make breakfast. Okay. We have eggs, gator bacon, some rice gruel from yesterday that I can sweeten up and make as a side product. Oi! What did you call me? Pomeranian. I overheard Ulti shouting outside for me to ignore it and keep focused on the inside of the fridge to pull out what I needed. It was only when Yaoyorozu came in that she tried to pull my focus into the living room. Ryugu. Bakugo is picking a fight with Ulti and she is threatening to crush his skull. Can you please get him to stop? Doesn't bother me if he gets his head crushed. Chances are, he started it. She stared at me for a solid 2 minutes with a serious look before I finally caved and walked out. Ulti. Try not to kill him. Also, Bakugo. Her devil fruit makes her head so strong it can turn your skull into literal dust. I recommend you don't try something stupid like picking a fight with Ulti. Fuck you. You see, he doesn't listen. I warned him, and he refused to take caution. If he dies because of it, it's not on me. She continued to stare at me for me to let out a sigh. Fine. Ulti, come here. I'm just about to turn this stupid idiot's head into... I pulled Ulti into my arms, pulled her mask down and gave her a solid lip lock with the sound of our kiss being heard in the entire common space. Everyone stared in confusion before I released us with a bit of saliva connecting our mouths still. Immediately after, Ulti fainted with a deep blush on her face for me to walk back to Yaoyorozu. That helped. Enough. She most likely didn't want to ask for more assistance since what she saw was a little more stimulating than she wanted. I simply went back in the kitchen to focus on breakfast as everyone shouted in unison. What the heck? Time skip to lunch. School finally finished up with Aizawa canceling all hero training for the next 2 weeks. Something about a sports festival or something. I didn't know what it was to ask Asui about it. Hey, so what's this sports festival and why is it so special? You mean you've never seen the sports festival, Ryugu? Sir Robocop asked me to explain the logic to him once again. Fishmen and merfolk cannot come up unless they have a reason to, so no, hence why I'm asking. I can help fill in the gaps. Yaoyorozu came over to explain. To make things simple, the sports festival of Ua is a very anticipated event of the year. It consists of 3 different events. The first to obtain the top 42, a second to obtain 16, and a third to declare the winner. Each of the events are held off saying what they are until the day of with there at least being one combat-based event. It's such a special event that it replaces what the Olympics were in past times. So it's something to hype up the people. I can see why the school wouldn't want to suspend this since right now they need to play crowd control. Anyway, if any of you are working opening day for the Mermaid Café, I suggest you change and head over there after lunch. I'm gonna leave a little earlier just so I can make sure everything's ready food-wise. I opened the door to the hall to see a bunch of people blocking my way. Okay. I have no idea who most of you are and quite frankly, I don't care. Please move. You seem to be a ball of sunshine. Is this how most hero course students act? A guy with purple hair walked up to the front to try and bark down at me. Quite a snobby attitude. Is that how most people up here act, or are you one of the exceptions? Charming. I had no time to waste talking to begin walking past the guy. I have no time to waste with you. Now just step aside so I can go to my job and avoid being late. Fine. But just be aware that everyone in the other courses that couldn't pass the entrance exams will be aiming for your classmates' seats in the hero course. I paid this no mind to focus on leaving and heading towards the dorms. I did however think of how things would go with someone actually being sent out of the hero course due to what the guy said to understand the world up here is no different than down below the ocean. Survival of the fittest. Few hours later, after changing and getting to the cafe, I began getting a decent amount of product set up and ready in the kitchen. Nothing big, but some fish pre-seared to lower the cooking time. Sauces ready in decent bulk over a double boil vat on the stove. The normal things that I can do to keep ahead. I only stopped when I overheard a shriek as well as Jiru walking out of the changing room holding the uniform we had in store. I am not wearing a bikini to have men ogle me. What's wrong with it? Shire asked while going over some final things on the menu to make sure that there wasn't an error. It's too revealing. Look at it, it's just saying I'm practically wearing underwear. Shiar looked at Jiro, confused for me to speak up. I don't see the big deal. Honestly, it's kinda a little more covering compared to some of the girls from the original Mermaid Café. How is this normal? Have you seen what Shire wears on a normal basis? You can almost see the outline of her girl's sensitive spots. No offense, love. None taken. Shire blew out some smoke before trying to think of a compromise. If you want, You can work in the back with Izuku for today and scope out how we do business here. We may wear revealing attire, but we aren't a brothel by any means. Juru thought for a second before walking in the back. What do I need to work back here? I gave her a hairnet and an apron and asked her if she could do dishes first to make sure we were clear and ready for the start. She did this for the first night to soon start after. It was slow at first, but when people started writing on social media, the slow became a hustle and bustle. Ah, this reminds me of home. I smiled happily at the sudden business for Juru to focus on making sure my plates were full and doing some salads to try and help reduce the amount of struggle. Fortunately for us, our hours of operation tonight weren't that long, but long enough to help us get a good feel for what to prepare for the next day. As we did though, Juru looked at our classmates who seemed to be uncomfortable at first, but soon relaxed and started acting more like respectful waitresses and companions to our single clients. For the most part, things were fine until some perv tried to feel up a Shido for Ulti to have to drag him out by his head. For those that questioned this, Shire pointed to a sign we put up that said, "Look all you want, but no touching," to explain we have standards that we need people to follow to enjoy a healthy and enjoyable area. After a few solid hours of heavy service, our final customers left for Shire to lock the door and look at everyone who was cleaning up. I just want to say, thank you to you all for making the first night open as enjoyable as possible. I know this is new for you all, and I thank you for your hard work. As such, Izuku has a nice dinner for you all to at least enjoy after the hard-fought day. I walked out of the kitchen holding some things of our soup as well as our sea omurice dish for everyone to have something solid in their stomach and warm soup to relax them from the difficult day. I returned to the kitchen with a plate and bowl of food for Juru, who looked really exhausted. Here. Thanks. She stopped scrubbing to try and eat something with tears coming down her face. I glanced at her for a blush to be on her cheeks. It is licky I when chw home for dinner. Geez. If I knew you were gonna cry, I would have waited. I continued cleaning up with Juru finishing what was in her mouth before speaking again. So I gotta ask you, Ryugu. What exactly is your goal for being a hero? What kind of stupid question is that? I'm just asking. You're not the heroic image many people see in heroes, but you do care a lot for people as a whole. I rolled my eyes before continuing to work. Let's get one thing straight. Everything I do with working alongside humans is to better my kingdom's people. Do not misinterpret me being nice as anything else. But helping Kendo and Tsunatori doesn't help anyone but them and maybe our class for better relationships between Class B. I think you're actually someone that gives a damn about people but pretends he doesn't. I stopped hearing this to feel really angry and blush at it. Shut up and finish eating. We still have a lot of cleaning to do. Yes, sir. She continued eating with the words Juru spoke echoing in my head. Why did I help them? After a fierce battle at the USJ, Izuku and his class are met with a new obstacle in the sports festival. As the group is given 2 weeks to prepare, the Mermaid Café opens up at long last for Izuku and his fiancées to gain a rousing success. However, Izuku himself has begun questioning himself and his own principles for humanity as a whole thanks to his own actions. Izuku Pav. 2 weeks went by in a blink of an eye with the Mermaid Café being a big hit. From what I can tell from reviews people gave for us, everyone loves the cafe, but aren't fond of the limited hours policy. Unfortunately, we can't do anything about it. Right now though, I'm sitting in a waiting room for the sports festival thing. I did though have the ability to send feed through a transponder snail to Fishman Island to possibly get people hyped up back home and maybe sign more signatures. Ryugu. Mr. Aizawa said that the feed for Fishman Island is ready and that we'll be heading out in 5. Yaoyorozu spoke up for me to lay back in my chair. Gotcha. Ryugu. A word. I glanced to the side to see one of my classmates. I think his name was Todoroki or something along that line. Today. I'm going to beat you in the sports festival. Consider this my declaration of war. Ha 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 ha. You seriously think that's a declaration of war? Ha ha ha. I began laughing uncontrollably at how stupid it sounded. Yes. Why are you laughing? Because it's one of the dumbest forms of declaring war that I've read and heard. I could barely stop laughing with it now annoying him. Listen. You want to fight out there, fine. I'll give you a show. I personally want to win this primarily for 2 reasons. One is to give my people a confidence boost and show their untapped potential under the ocean in hopes to have the younger generation continue my example. What's the second? Uraraka asked, walking over for me to smile. To show that bitch former sister of mine where we really stand on a totem pole. I laughed at this with everyone looking at me with a little concern. Oh come on. You all saw how she acts. All this is just me showing her where her superiority is gonna get her one day. She is kinda a bitch when I think about it. Everyone turned to Jiru, who surprised everyone in her comment. See? Even the girl who tries to avoid making waves gets it. I glanced at the time before getting up. Alright. Let's get going. Yamato Pav. Woo-ah hhhhhh. It's huge. I glanced at the big stadium, extremely happy to see it and unintentionally bumped into Reiju. Please watch where you're going. We're here for a job. I glanced over to see Shirley and everyone carrying things into the stadium. From what I was told, Shirley got the privilege to make up a shop in the stadium thanks to the sudden appeal of the Mermaid Café. It wasn't much, but we were able to make it a refreshment stand since we couldn't rely on Izuku as much today. So what's the haul gonna be for us? Shirley smiled while answering. Cool drinks. Some caffeinated teas. And a few treats that Izuku made in advance as at least something solid. Huh. So even when he can't help us, he tries. The stream on the large video showed Class A walking in with Izuku in front of them. Wahhhhhh. Go Izuku. Shut up and keep walking before you make me trip. Ulti shouted in anger at me. Yeah. Third person Pav. Izuku and everyone from the first years stood in the center of the stadium with Mike announcing Midnight to be the referee for the game. Most though had a question on her attire since well, anyone who is of a younger age in the audience would without a doubt have a problem with it. And now, to give the participants code of honor, we have the classier representative, Izumi Midoriya. Midnight spoke into the mic with Izumi walking towards the stage. Izuku felt a sour note in his mouth before she got to the mic. Allow me first to thank you all for coming today. As a first year, it fills me with great joy that you desired to watch us perform. Upon this field that we will participate, I swear on the name of our school that we shall all play fairly and participate in the best course of action we can. Thank you for your time and please enjoy your stay. Everyone began clapping at this with several of the first years speaking up. And I thought the hero course was full of chumps. That girl really makes you feel special. The sincerity in her voice made me almost cry for doubting the hero course had good people. I wonder how much of that was forced. Izuku thought this as Midnight once again spoke into the mic. And now, it's time to begin the first event. A large roulette showed itself on the jumbo screen to begin spinning and stopped on an event. Your first event will be an obstacle race. Players will race around the stadium avoiding obstacles we have put into place. Your objective is to race through all of them and get back here in the shortest time. Use of quirks is permitted and anyone that leaves the area is to be considered eliminated. Players, get to the starting line so we may begin. Everyone got to the starting line for Izuku to immediately see a problem. We came in with 4 people coming through that door and it was a little cramped. This can only mean it'll be worse now. The timer continued to count down. When it got to 0, everyone rushed to the gate with it immediately being swamped with people. Taking this into consideration, Izuku jumped up and used the heads of people as a springboard. Excuse me. Coming through. One side. He got near the exit to see ice keeping everyone in place. Something tells me this is Todoroki's doing. When he landed in front of everyone, his thoughts were right with the dual hair-colored boy standing in front of everyone with an army of robots. May I present to you all the first obstacle? Robo Inferno. Several large robots from prior in the entrance exams stood over everyone with some who were able to get away from the ice panicking a bit. So this is what the people who took the regular exam took on. Yeah, not exactly, Todoroki. Izuku pulled his fake katana out that he had to use in replacement of his original to pull it back. Fishman swordsmanship. Ocean current split. He slammed it down for Izuku's Fishman swordsmanship showing itself and destroying a large amount of the robots and doing this with ease. Izuku stood there a little impressed before running as far as he could. To the side, Izuku noticed a large slab of a 0-pointer to pick it up and secure it to his side. I might be able to use this later on. Out of the way, reject. Izumi shoved him out of the way in order to get past with her going right for Todoroki. You think I'm gonna lose to a bitch like you? Fat chance. Izuku continued on with Izumi catching up fairly quickly to Todoroki to the next part. Alright folks. We've made it to our second obstacle. We call this the pitfall, and anyone that falls between the platforms is considered out. Izumi heard this to immediately use her quirk on her feet to propel herself in the air by the force of the shot. Not stopping there, she began to use moonwalk to get a little more distance before clearing the obstacle like nothing. Meanwhile, Izuku glanced at the area before running back towards the first obstacle. You're going the wrong way," one of the contestants suggested before Izuku turned around and began getting in a sprinting position. He stormed towards the pitfall before making a massive leap with katana in hand. Is he insane? Everyone shouted this with Izuku looking as if he's about to fall out of bounds. Now, in the last minute, Izuku swirled around with moisture accumulating as he swung. Fishman swordsmanship. Flowing whirlpool propulsion. Izuku continued to spin with what looked like a whirlpool in the air happening around him. As this occurred, Momo noticed something off with how he was moving before widening her eyes in shock. Genius. What are you talking about? Siro, who was next to her, asked. Ryugu is using his skills with Fishman karate to create moisture around him. Once this happens, he's coating small water droplets with hockey in order to create a solid product and using them as stepping stones. As this is happening, he's increasing forward momentum and increasing the amount of moisture he's accumulating to make the technique even more special. It's risky and has a very large margin for error at the beginning, but is something most wouldn't think of doing. Truly something worth praise. Though many in his class expected Izuku more to be cold and brutal as a fighter, they fail on occasion to see the ingenuity that is behind the strength for it to be shown in a simple use of his own self-taught style. Simply put, he never ceases to amaze his classmates. In the crowds, several people took extreme note of how outside the box this thinking was for Mike to point it out. Unbelievable, folks. Izuku Ryugu, a boy who came into UA with no quirk whatsoever, is riding on water to get over the pitfalls. Just what else can this boy show us? In the crowds, however, there was a woman who noticed this and seemed somewhat interested with several other odd people surrounding her. She smiled at the image of Izuku on the screen before it went back to the lead and what was happening in the race. We're now at our final event, everyone. Landmines. These special pieces of landmines made by POWERLOADER aren't exactly strong, but they're buried in the ground to make it virtually impossible to see and run at the same time. Izumi came to the front with Bakugo behind her about to attack Todoroki. Get out of the way, half and half. Bakugo grabbed Todoroki's hair while Izumi used both as a springboard. Nothing personal, but first place is only for those that step on the weak. Izuku saw this happen and immediately got angered at Izumi. I'm not letting her win this. He accumulated some of the water that was from his prior technique to immediately throw it. Water shot. The attack went below where Izumi was for her to notice the attack and look back at Izuku. Your aim sucks. It would if I was aiming at you. She immediately looked down to see it was directed exactly at a mine to blow up in her face and send the fire quirk user flying back. Now that that's out of the way, let's get some bombs and see if we can get ahead of the track. Izumi recovered from her blast to get up and scowl at Izuku. You fucking ingrate. She began getting back up to only see a large explosion happen with Izuku riding a piece of the zero-pointer going towards the front. Bakugo. Stop him. The shout forced the ash blonde to look up and question immediately what was happening for Izumi to shout again. Don't just stand there. Stop him now. Pulling out of his trance, Bakugo and Todoroki immediately tried to get ahead of Izuku by whatever means they could. Unfortunately for them, Izuku was planning for this and immediately swung down the shrapnel and set off multiple explosions to propel him farther while also forcing Bakugo and Todoroki back. This enraged Izumi for her to begin using moonwalk to get within range and sending off a blast of fire at Izuku. Figured you'd do that. Flare bullet. The attack was directed right at Izuku for him to turn and send off a shot of water. Water shot. The two collided for a set of steam to cover Izumi's field of view to make her go down towards the end of the minefield and sprint towards the goal. Unfortunately for her, she couldn't make it in time to notice Izuku standing in the stadium before her. And the winner of the first event is Izuku Ryugu. The crowd cheered with Izuku looking around and seeing the transponder snails watching him. He gave a smile before pulling his fist up in accomplishment. Hearing the fact Izuku won the first event, several of the girls watched his amazing feat in the small café for Yamato to cheer. Alright. Go Izuku. You can win this. Carrot started jumping while fist pumping the air to irritate Ulti. We're here to work. Not be onlookers. I promise we'll finish up after lunch, just be patient. I'm certain Izuku will make it to the final round and we'll all be able to watch him in person. Shirley spoke up before turning to a person at the register. Thank you, and here's your change. Enjoy the festival. I know, it just sucks that we can't see Izuku winning right now. Well, isn't this a surprise? Who'd have thought the useless waste of space would be able to give Izumi a run for her money? A man with dark messy hair came in and looked at the screen. Hearing these words, Ulti began scowling. What was that you said about Izuku, punk? Pick your next words carefully. The man looked at the beast pirate crew member and smirked. I called that boy what he is. A useless waste of space. But then again, he learned to at least to be of some use, like his dead mother. His cocky attitude irritated everyone in the room for him to go up towards the register. Let me have a. I'm sorry, sir. But I cannot allow you to stay here any longer, if you would please leave. Oh, and why should I leave? Do you not want the money I'd lay down for your fish food? Shirley looked even angrier before responding in the guest's face. You have disrespected a member of our work, insulted our food, and have personally angered all of us with your choice of words. I do not wish to have you here anymore. Now please leave immediately. The man glared at her with Shirley glaring back. The two didn't move before the man pulled his attention away to walk out. Don't expect me to walk into your filthy cafe anymore. I'd personally prefer you not. Shirley gave a smirk before seeing the man leave. So any idea who that was? Wanda kept sniffing the air before answering Yamato's question. He smelled like Izuku. Maybe he's related. I can tell he is. Shirley smoked a little from her pipe before continuing. The hair was some proof, as well as the freckles and the fact he personally knew Izuku solidifies it. Should we do something? Carrot asked for Reiju to open up on the topic. Let's just see if this plays out. After a heroic feat at the USJ, the class of 1A are told of the sports festival 2 weeks prior. Once the day had come, Izuku and the entire first years had been forced to compete against one another. In the first event, everyone was to race around an obstacle course and return back to the arena with the first 42 advancing. In an inspiring act, Izuku was able to claim first place and cement his face in front of the spotlight. Now the battle to keep that spot resumes. Third person Pav. Izuku relaxed on the side of the stadium, focusing on what he could before hearing someone walk over to him. Ryugu. That was amazing. He looked up to see Ochako run over out of breath. You really are awesome. That was nothing. He tried to play it off with Momo walking over. Actually, that was far more amazing than you think. She had her coat opened up with a disgusted look on her face. Before I continue, can someone please get him off me? She turned to the side to reveal Mineta beaten to a pulp while smiling. I was able to get up high in the event and touch a woman while doing so. I'm such a genius. Hey, Mineta. I have a deal for you. If you can successfully pants Izumi and come back without her burning you into barbecue, I won't hit you for what you're doing right now and give you a pair of underwear that's on my floor in the dorms right now. Seeing the opportunity in front of him, the small pervert pulled his purple balls off Momo and began heading towards where Izumi was. There was a silence before an extreme amount of fire was seen and Mineta walking back looking like he had a fight with a flamethrower and lost. Why do I feel like you did that more to annoy your sister? Momo looked at Izuku, who held a smug look. It got him off your back and punished him for it. Besides, it was his choice to get beaten by water or beaten by fire. You're really sadistic. I don't hear Yayorozu here complaining that she no longer has the midget on her back anymore. Izuku started laughing for those that actually felt content seeing him happily smile. As the final contestant needed for the sports festival to move on to the next event past the finish line, Midnight called it with everyone else being told to vacate the field. Now that we have our 42 contestants, we shall continue to the next round. The roulette spun with Midnight holding some anticipation for the announcement of the event. When it stopped, the R-rated hero spoke with excitement. Our next event will be Cavalry Battle. Players will create teams of 2 to 4 people and run around the field with headbands on trying to obtain other teams' headbands. Including this, you all will be given a point system where each team will have a point value of all the members combined. The higher you placed in the previous event, the higher your point value will be. Midnight began showing everyone's point value, with the 42nd place being worth 5 points and each place after being added 5 more points. What caught Izuku as odd, however, was the lack of a first-place point value. I think there's a catch here. What makes you say that? Mina asked for Midnight to solidify Izuku's thoughts. And the first-place participant will receive a total of 10 million points. Everyone heard this to look at Izuku, knowing who they had to go after in order to win. Even if all the points are combined, they wouldn't hold a candle to the total amount Izuku had to make anyone holding them first place without any problem. You have 5 minutes to make up your teams. Get going. Izuku walked around the area trying to think who he could or even should have on his team. If I'm taking into consideration the people that we have here, the best possible candidates would be those that could defend and fight back. Also, someone capable of quick pullbacks. Personally, Spectacle's quirk could handle that, but maybe also someone like Uraraka with her quirk combined would be ideal. After that, we need at least one more person. Hey, Ryugu. Izuku stopped his train of thought to turn and see Ochako standing behind him. Wanna pair up? You sure about that? I mean, we'll be targeted. It's fine. Besides, it's better to team up with people you like. She smiled genuinely at Izuku for him to raise an eyebrow. What's with the face? I've been distant to all of you. I don't see why you'd like me. Well, you do try. You also, though, are unable to show it as often. Do care to not have everyone get hurt. So you might not see a reason, but I like you cause you're a good person at heart. Hearing this from Ochako for some reason made Izuku's heart thump a little faster to turn around and hide a blush. Do what you want. We still need 2 people. You have any idea if Spectacles found himself a team? I heard he's going with Todoroki's team, then we need 2 more. To the side, Pony and Mina were walking around hoping to find someone before seeing Izuku. Hey, Ryugu. Wanna pair up? Pony spoke in English for everyone around to not understand her with Izuku turning around. He smirked before answering. Fair enough. Your arm still hurt? The fact he spoke English shocked Pony before smiling happily. All better, thanks for the help. I did nothing. Thank Reiju. Can someone explain to me what you're both saying? Mina asked for Izuku to turn to her. I was just asking her if her arm's better from where she was hit, as well as allowing her to join our group. I'm guessing you're looking for one as well? Mina nodded with a smile on her face. And I'm guessing you came with Pony to ask me. She nodded again. At least that avoids problems for us. Uraraka. You're gonna use your quirk on everyone here to make us weigh less. Ashido. You and Uraraka will be the sides of the horse. We'll have a lot of people coming at us, so keep your eyes open. Right. Count on me. Izuku then looked at Pony. Sorry to say this, but you'll have to be at the front. It's fine. I think that's the best spot for me since I can use my quirk without my hands. Pony shot off her horns for another pair to come shortly after. The pair of horns floated in the air for Izuku to be intrigued by this. I can only control one without my hands, but it should help. Alright then. I'll use my Fishman karate and hockey in order to help us. Let's check in and get our headband. The 4 walked over to Midnight and gave their group for her to nod and hand them a headband consisting of all their points. The girls knelt down with Izuku getting in position and getting up to avoid a problem. While they did this, a group of unhappy faces prepared to take them on specifically to have a smile happen. And time, players, take your marks. Midnight shouted for everyone in the event to begin getting ready to start. A timer began for everyone to take a few calming breaths before the buzzer rang for the event to start. All right. Let's go left. The girls followed Izuku's command and went left. When they did, however, they ran into a team consisting of Bakugo, Kirishima, Monoma and Izumi. Stupid of you to come at us right off the bat. I will admit it's admirable if anything. Izumi held her hand out with some confidence. Now, give me the headband and you'll at least be able to walk away with some dignity, knowing your pathetic mug won't be more screwed up for those whores you call wives. She did not just call my wives whores. Actually, I came here to say something to you in the ass you're straddling right now. What did you just call me? Bakugo was fuming with this comment for Izumi to stop him to hear what Izuku had to say. You two are nothing but half-baked shitrags and are no better than the dirt maggots shit out. I hope you enjoy licking your assholes since you're both so far up them. There was silence before Izumi burst into flames. I'll fucking kill you. Flare shot. She shot at Izuku for him to duck down and it hit someone else. This didn't stop as Izumi went at Izuku again with several attacks for the group to run as fast as they could away from them. Did you have to anger her? Mina shouted for Izuku to hold a smile as if he was on the top of the world. Yes. She'll keep everyone away with her constant attacks, and also I got to stick it right into her craw. Ha ha ha. You have really bad family issues, you know that, Pony commented what everyone thought for them to narrowly miss being attacked by a stray ball of fire. How long are we gonna run from her? Just a few more moments. A massive wall of ice came to separate Izuku's group and Izumi's for them to see Todoroki and his group consisting of Kaminari, Yaoyorozu and Iida. So this is where you went, Spectacles. I honestly thought you could be worthwhile with me. Then again, you did take out my problem in the back with Peppermint Stick here, so it's a win-win either way. Ryugu, I don't want to make this get dragged out any more than it should. Just hand me the headband and we can both walk away. Todoroki tried to reason with Izuku for him to laugh. Look, man, I didn't get to where I was by just taking the easy way out. Then again, if you want the headband, come and get it. Izuku prepared himself to send off a punch with Todoroki using his ice to attack them. 4000. Brick Fist. Izuku sent an attack towards Todoroki to destroy the ice and create an opening for Izuku to use his power against him. Now, Water Shot. The attack went right for Todoroki's left side for him to panic and dodge. Guess my hunch with him was right. You fucking brat. Izumi melted the ice in a fit of rage to go after Izuku. His group was able to evade them, but not without Monoma smacking Izuku. Now your quirk's mine. Joke's on you, I don't have one. Izuku gave a punch laced with Fishman karate to Monoma to have him get the wind knocked out of him for a moment. But still a nice try on your end. Then I hope you don't mind me fixing where he went wrong. Izumi began sending fire onto the ground for Pony to back up as quickly as she could, as well as Izuku hitting the ground with as many water shots as possible. Are you out of your mind? You could actually hurt someone with what you just tried. In a battle, you need to do whatever it takes to take down your enemy. Joining you made my classmate my enemy. The fight continued after this with Midnight speaking into an intercom. She's starting to act a little more viscous. How should we handle this? Nezu spoke on the other side, knowing the situation will only get worse if they stop the match here or allow someone to get hurt. For now, let this continue. If Midoriya does anything that is beyond borderline acceptable or harms someone from her actions terribly, stop the match and call the top teams the winners at that point. Understood. Midnight watched in unease, knowing there wasn't anything they could do at this moment. In all technicality, Izumi wasn't wrong, and you needed to treat your enemies with every precaution and do what you must to stop them in a real-life situation, but this wasn't at the same time a real-life situation, with her actions being more petty than anything. She's lucky her mother is who she is and has the strings to pull if we try to take her out of the hero course without undeniable valid evidence. Personally, I think she shouldn't be here, but we can't put a decision on it yet since she hasn't put underlying reason outside of being too wild in certain situations. If we ousted her for them though, Doflamingo will come at us with situations similar with pro-heroes in the field right now that went here and other students losing their temper. For now our hands are tied. Izumi continued to attack Izuku and his group, focusing mainly down below towards Pony. Izuku kept defending her for several blasts to him personally being missed and hitting parts of the green-haired boy's body to burn him. Getting tired defending the excess weight? Why don't you just let her get burned? It's only right to have the weak lose and the strong succeed. The strong protect the weak. That's how the weak get strong, so they can keep the cycle going. And on what grounds do the weak get strong enough to topple the strong? Question mark. When the strong die, the weak always will be weak and won't ever be able to get above the strong. That's the way of the world, and they become fodder for us, like you. A blast of fire came directly at Izuku for a wave of ice to come and block it. Izumi glared at the direction it came from to Todoroki, who looked somewhat irritated. What, are you mad that we forgot about you? Daddy's little masterpiece. Hearing her say this, Todoroki got a little agitated before responding back. At least I'm not a crazed nutjob who was given a silver spoon by their mother and uses it wherever they go. Well, that wasn't nice. Why don't you warm up that cold shoulder? She sent a blast of fire at Todoroki for him to create a wall of ice. Why don't you fight me for real, you pathetic excuse for a number? Ocean current shoulder throw. Izuku cut Izumi off by sending a current of water at her for Bakugo to create a massive blast to block it. This was a ploy, however, for Todoroki to freeze the water droplets and create a wall. Once Izumi's focus was there, two horns that looked pitch black came charging to jam Kirishima and Monoma's pant legs down into the ground. The heck are these things? Kirishima shouted for Pony to have her horns pointed downwards and regrow. I gotta say, Ryugu, that was smart, using your power to make my horns harder. Thanks, and the fact you were able to control them came in handy as well. Izuku's group began running away with the act now enraging Izumi. You think I'm gonna let you leave that easily? Like that's gonna happen. In a fit of rage, Izumi let out a massive wave of Conqueror's Haki directly at Izuku's group for Pony and Mina to feel it and slowly start going down. If I can't get first, I'll make it at least where you can't either. Crap, Ryugu, what happened? Izuku looked over to see Ochako still conscious. He didn't know why she was spared this, but the situation was extremely dangerous. Make me weightless and get a strong grip on Tsunatori and Ashido, now. She did this for the threat of being eliminated not being present at the moment. Damn that bitch, to think she'd go this far just to prove a point. Ryugu. Todoroki's group walked up towards Izuku and Ochako for things to get worse. They prepared for a fight, but Todoroki ignored them and began going after a few other people with headbands. Fighting you right now isn't worthwhile. It's not as beneficial. This comment surprised the two before turning to see Izumi's group getting the pant legs where Pony's horns were lodged free. I'm done playing now. Prepare to die, you fucking reject. Izumi created a massive ball of fire above her head with Ochako and Izuku extremely uneasy. I'm not gonna be able to take that down. Not only that, but I can't protect Uraraka, Ashido and Tsunatori. Someone's gonna get hurt no matter what I do. A sickening smile came on Izumi's face as she sent the ball of fire directly at Izuku and Ochako. Ryugu. Todoroki attempted to create a wall of ice for it to immediately melt. Not seeing any other option, Izuku jumped up towards the ball of fire. Uraraka, release your quirk. But, just do it. Ochako did as Izuku asked for her to return gravity to her teammates. When she did, Izuku pulled his wooden sword out to begin using his swordsmanship and coating the wood in Haki. Fishman swordsmanship, spiraling whirlpool. A massive explosion came from the impact to make everyone turn their attention towards it. Even members of the participants and the viewers were afraid something bad happened to Izuku for him to fall back towards the ground, extremely burned. As a way to relieve the impact, Todoroki made a slide of ice that came back towards Ochako for her to barely hold herself up while putting the green-haired boy on her shoulders. Nice job defending that. Let's see how you handle though. I'm calling time right now. Midnight shouted for everyone to look and see there being at least a minute left on the clock. Due to an unforeseen situation, we are calling the second event right now. First place goes to the team of Ryugu, Tsunatori, Ashido and Uraraka. Second goes to Team Todoroki, Iida, Yaoyorozu and Kaminari. Third place goes to Team Shinso, Hatsume, Aoyama and Tokiyami. And fourth place goes to Team Midoriya, Bakugo, Kirishima and Monoma. The crowd was silent for a minute before a slow clapping started and reverted to a full-on applause. As this occurred, the people watching from the Mermaid Café were shocked and worried seeing Izuku in the state he was in. The kid did an awesome job, but he looks like he's in bad condition. Not a lot of people can go into a giant ball of fire and walk out saying that they're okay. Several of the guests started talking with Shiarly finishing up the final order they were able to serve and shutting shop down. Reiju. Get the medical bag. Wanda and Carrot. Follow her to make sure Izuku is okay. Yamato, Ulti and Praline. Get the lunches. Everyone nodded to do what they needed for Shiarly to finish closing up. That damned bitch hurt Izuku. I'm not dropping this like I normally do with things. As the sports festival gets underway, Izuku and his class are faced with events made to face off against one another as well as every other first year in UA. Thanks to his talent and skills, Izuku was able to hold first place in the first event. However, thanks to his former sister Izumi's antics, the second had to be called sooner than expected. Now with only 16 competitors left, the final event shall be revealed to the students to hopefully claim a winner. Third person Pav. Doflaminga sat in the booth that her and the family had somewhat irritated. The kid seemed to be strong. Strong enough to fight without a quirk. A man wearing baby clothes pointed out as a kid with a fish fin on his back and horns began laughing. Yeah, but he's so banged up after a single hit like that. Ha ha ha, he's probably a loser who only survived out of dumb luck. Dumb luck or not, the kid had guts. And that's guts with a capital G. An older man responded back while making a G with his hands. As they spoke, a woman that looked like a housemaid with a massive firearm held up by a sash on her shoulder stared closer to him. What do you see, baby 5? The kid, he's that one from all those years ago. No doubt about it, he's Mistress Izumi's brother. What? No way, that kid was sold off to some rich celestial dragon. He's probably pushing up daisies by now. A larger man with a cape pointed this out as Doflaminga stared across the stadium at a certain booth. She smiled before looking over to a woman that held green hair and a somewhat normal image to her compared to the rest. Monet, I'd like you to ask for Izuku Ryugu to come here as soon as he can. Understood, young mistress. The woman called Monet left with Doflaminga going for a phone now. He decided to call a number and smile. Present Mike, I think it's in your best interest to know there is a special guest in the audience today. One specifically from Mary Geoise. If anything, this'll be entertaining at the very least. The heavenly devil began laughing as she explained who exactly the person was. With Izuku. There you go, Sonny. That should at the very least fix you up to continue. Though I'd advise against it as a medical professional. Recovery Girl stated this as she healed Izuku enough where it won't zap all his strength, but still have some injuries from his act. Thank you. Also, I'm sorry if it may be rowdy in here in the next few minutes. What do you? As the pro was trying to find out what he meant, the door slammed open with Carrot jumping in first to hug Izuku with Wanda and Reiju behind her. Izuku, are you all right? We saw what you did and we were worried. We even brought some medical equipment if you were too badly hurt. Reiju showed the bag with some unease in herself. Before he could comment though, Wanda came over and hugged Izuku into her chest. You gave us all a fright. We weren't even sure if you were going to be alright. Please don't do something so reckless like that again. I'm sorry if I scared you all, but I'll be okay. Right now though, I'm at least content I had the worst of that. Carrot pulled her face up to show her on the brink of bawling her eyes out. You sure you'll be okay? I'm not in serious threat for my life, so I'll be okay. Carrot immediately grabbed Izuku's neck and sobbed into him while rubbing her cheek on his. Izuku, we were so worried for you. I'm so happy you're alive. Garchu. Oh my, the joys of being young again. Recovery Girl hopped on her chair and began filling out paperwork she needed to. As she did, Reiju came over with a bento in her hand. Here, since you've helped our fiancé, it's only fair that we try and offer you something in return to show our gratitude. It's not much, but Izuku's cooking is always very delicious. Oh my. Recovery Girl accepted the bento before opening it and seeing how nicely displayed the setup was. You're an amazing cook, Sonny. Thank you for putting in the effort. Figured everyone in my class would like it. It's also a way to maybe get some of Class B's girls to hop on and join the Mermaid Café to give it a try if good food is offered. Smart boy. Well, you're free to go at any time. Just try not to do something so reckless next time. I'll see what I can do. Izuku hopped off the medical bed while carrying a still crying Carrot in his arms as she kept hugging and trying to bite his ear. As he left, several members of Class A came over to make sure nothing bad happened for Izuku to brush them off and say it wasn't serious. Before he left the area, Carrot calmed down enough to walk on her own to head towards the lunchroom to hopefully get something to eat. Before they could, a screen next to them showed Mike announcing on the big screen an announcement. Sorry folks for the last-minute comment, but it seems we've got a well-known guest in the audience today watching. He's a member of Mary Geoise's inhabitants himself. A god of kings. May I present to you? A picture of a man showed up on the screen for Izuku's eyes to go wide. Saint Charlos. A look of horror came to Izuku's face as he backed up into a wall. Not him. Anyone but him. Reiju noticed the fear on Izuku's face to begin placing pieces together. Izuku, what's wrong? Wanda and Carrot tried to help how they could, but were suddenly met with a smile from Izuku. One that was without a doubt from his time as a slave. I take it you're Izuku Ryugu. Everyone turned to Monet standing a few feet away from them while smiling. If you would kindly follow me. Don Quixote Doflamingo would like to have a few words with you. Trying to regain his composure, Izuku tried to stand up, but refused to look at the screen showing Charlos's face. I'll be right back. Jay, just eat without me and I'll catch up with you all later. Izuku walked away with the incident still confusing Wanda and Carrot, with only Reiju having some understanding on what might have been the trigger. Izuku walked with Monet towards a booth where she began knocking. Young mistress, it's Monet and I've brought Izuku Ryugu here. Come in, I'm just dying to see him after all these years. The door opened for Izuku to see several people in the booth as well as the one woman he despised almost as much as the celestial dragons in front of him. It's been quite a while, Izuku. Why don't you give your mother a hello? You are not, nor have you ever shown any desire to be my mother. Izuku's comment angered some members of the Don Quixote family before Doflamingo asked them to stand down. So why did you bring me here? I know it's not to reconcile, and if it was, then I want nothing of it and we can end this here. Actually, I'd like to make a proposal for you. You see, I genuinely am sorry for what I've done. I was a bad mother to you and I truly am sorry. Doflamingo showed a false bit of sympathy to her lie as she continued. It took me a few years to figure out that I had thrown away an amazing son as you. However, I do wish to make amends in a way of helping your goal. What do you mean? You see, I'm aware of what you're trying to do for Fishman Island and I can pull some strings where the world government could allow this without them visiting the reverie. With a simple call, I can make your dream a reality. However, there's one thing I'd like you to do. Doflamingo tossed something to Izuku for him to catch it and notice it's a gun. I'd like you to shoot and kill the celestial dragon that chose to watch the sports festival here today. After what he's done to you, I doubt you'll think twice about it. Besides, they're all just as evil, sneaky, conniving and sadistic as the one that's here. So to open up a future to thousands of fishmen and merfolk, you want me to take a life of a single man. Think of it this way, do you really care if the man up there lives or dies? He's the one that bought you when you were a boy. What good does it do to protect the man who held no sympathy for you? Not only that, but you can live a happy normal life above ground with your wives and family. No hiding under the ocean anymore. All you'd have to do is take this man's life before lunch break is over. I even had it where the guards aren't going to be there during the time frame. It'll give you ample amount of time to go there, kill the celestial dragon and walk away like nothing ever happened. What do you say? Izuku couldn't believe what he was hearing. His mother's wish for the island would come true. He smiled at this comment before placing the gun in his pocket. I'll think about it. Good, I hope you don't disappoint. Izuku walked out of the booth thinking of his options. All the pain he's felt from his past tormentor came rushing back to him, with now the opportunity to at least show him the same pain he's had to face for so long able to be repaid. There, the celestial dragons. They're monsters, and this is for the betterment of my people. I want to do this. I can do this. He began walking towards the booth with intent to do what he planned to. With Class A. What do you mean you have no idea where Izuku is? Ulti shouted in anger as Reiju tried to explain themselves. A woman from the Don Quixote family had asked for him to go with her and meet Doflamingo. I don't know why, but he also seemed to be notably disturbed by a celestial dragon being shown on the screen. Hearing this, Charlie remembered a picture of a man shown while coming over. She was in such a state of shock that she dropped her pipe and had gone completely pale. Yamato, Ulti, find Izumi Midoriya. See if she knows any of what her family is doing. Class A, can you please help us fan out and find Izuku? I'm afraid he might do something extremely stupid right now. Like what? Kaminari asked for Charlie to glare at him. Wait, don't tell me he'll try to do something to the weirdo up there. This is why I want to find him before he makes a horrible mistake. The amount of stress he's been put under by the celestial dragons makes me fear for the worst. People who've suffered by them want blood or struggle to manage against the horrors they've seen as a slave of them to take their own life. I want to make sure Izuku doesn't do the same. Mina immediately got up and ran along with Ochako and Sue knowing this. As they did, the rest of the class soon went as well, with Momo planning to go towards the area near the Celestial Dragon's booth. Even if it was a hunch, she knew he'd probably go there if he did plan to kill the man. With Izuku stood in front of the Celestial Dragon's booth smiling. The anticipation of shooting the man who had no care for human life was forcing him to shake. This is it. One bullet will end it all. He pulled the top piece back to hear a bullet go into the cartridge. He was about to walk in, but stopped when he remembered his mother's teachings. Never act in hate or anger. It only breeds more hate and anger that corrupts others. This isn't like the fishmen and merfolk of our island. This man deserves it. He tried to steal himself before remembering the last time he met a celestial dragon. It's true. I want him to suffer. I want him to feel every whip, gunshot, burn and prod he gave our people. I want him to die just as much as you do, being part of the people that hurt us. But, if I stand by and let you do this, what makes me different than the people who stood by and let my pain happen, and what makes you better than your tormentor? Damn it. Izuku gripped the gun tighter, remembering each time he was kicked. Each time he was hurt. Each night he went to bed and woke up to yet another slave being dead next to him. He had the opportunity to end the man responsible for so much pain in his life right in front of him. But in his mind, he struggled. Damn it. As he was in deep self-thought with tears coming down his face and blood coming out his mouth from gripping his teeth too hard, Momo came up the steps and noticed him. No, I gotta stop him now. Damn it all. Izuku threw the gun to the wall before punching it and creating a massive dent in it. Damn it, damn it, damn it. He repeatedly hit the wall before sliding down slowly to his knees. Why can't I do this to one person? Someone that deserves it. I am useless and weak. Ryugu. Momo ran over to make sure he was okay. Are you hurt? Just get out of here. You fucking human. This has nothing to do with you. Seeing the gun on the ground, Momo began asking questions. Ryugu. Why did you want to kill the celestial dragon? Sniffle, he's the one. That monster is the one that owned me. I wanted it. I really did want to kill him. No matter what happens, I can never ever forgive that man for what he's done. He treated me like I was some kind of tool or toy that he can do with as he pleased and kicked me whenever I didn't do what he wanted. I hate it. I hate the fact I can't even pull a fucking trigger to end the monster who did this to me. I hate being so weak. Seeing now the person in pain behind the aggressive shell Izuku puts around himself, Momo kneels down and hugs Izuku. That's not a weakness. That's strength. Your moral will is telling you what you're doing is wrong. I understand the frustration you must feel is unbearable, but this is the right thing. What would have happened if you killed a celestial dragon? You'd be hunted by the world government till you die. You'd have to leave everyone you care about and know. What the man behind that door did was horrible and inexcusable, but you aren't him. You're stronger than any of us. And it's because of that strength, you can be weak for right now. You fought for so long, let yourself show the weakness in you for a short time and I promise you I won't judge it. Hearing this, Izuku hugged Momo and began sobbing into her. As this happened, she began rubbing Izuku's back in a soothing manner for him to know it's okay. They sat there for a few minutes before Izuku felt a little better to stand and pick the gun up. Please, get rid of this. I don't want this in my hands anymore and I'm afraid I'll do this again if I keep it. I understand. Momo grabbed the gun and began creating something to destroy the weapon. Recomposing himself, Izuku stood up and began walking away. Shiar has lunch boxes for everyone. Make sure to grab one before lunch is over. Also, thank you. If it means anything, I won't tell anyone about what happened here. Probably better nobody does. Izuku left the area with Momo smiling a little. So this is what Shiarli meant when she said he's actually a kind person at heart. To be honest, I don't think I'd be able to do the same thing he did just now if I was in his shoes. As the sports festival went underway, Izuku and his classmates were faced with events that made them face off against one another in the other first years. During the intermission, Izuku was given an opportunity to complete his mother's wishes for Fishman Island, but at the cost of the life of the celestial dragon who tormented him. However, Izuku was able to refuse himself this act with the assistance of Momo Yaoyorozu's insight. Now, the final event will be decided with the top 16 students ready for their final event. Shiarli Pav. After searching around the stadium for Izuku, everyone had reconvened towards Class A's sitting area. Has anyone found him? Sorry, I haven't seen him. Same. I started to worry. I know Izuku enough to know he would do something reckless if needed, but now we're adding to the factor his own deep-rooted fear and anger towards the celestial dragons. I'm afraid he'll do something right now that will hurt him in the long run. Alright, I got the stupid bitch. Ulti slammed Midoriya in front of us, tied up on the ground. Now you're gonna answer our questions. And if I think you're lying to us, I'm gonna make your head a paste and throw it on some chips. That was a little over the top. I took a deep breath in my pipe before starting. What did Doflaminga wish to speak to Izuku about? I don't know. I'm not my mother's keeper Yao. Carrot stabbed Midoriya in her back with her glove, somewhat irritated. What the hell, you stupid rabbit. I want Uchiha to tell us what happened to Izuku right now. I talked with Mike about his stupid comment and he said that Doflaminga told him about the celestial dragon being here. Now unless you wanna feel the next jab with electrodes in you, I suggest Uchiha start talking. Midoriya rolled her eyes before continuing. The chances are, my idiot little brother was told some kind of bleeding heartfelt sob story about how my mother's a changed woman now or some shit and willing to help Izuku and the disgusting fish of the sea get above ground. I felt the urge to slap this woman for saying such a thing to him. She probably also gave him the ultimatum of harming a celestial dragon while also putting in a good word to get the authorization to move Fishman Island up above ground without the reverie ruling on it. Chances are though, that little pussy wouldn't be able to harm the scumbag even if they deserve it. She started to laugh at the fact the Don Quixote family practically took what Izuku had worked hard for and prided himself on doing for our people and spitting on it like it wasn't worth their time. I was about to raise my hand before noticing a solid kick being made to send Midoriya into a wall. How dare you! I glanced at the culprit for it to be Reiju having her hair over her eyes before glaring directly at Midoriya in rage. How dare you take your own flesh and blood's desire to help the people that helped him and spit on it? Does the sanctity of family mean nothing to you? Oh please. That failure's been a stranger to me for a decade and a half oof. Midoriya was hit with another kick for her anger to be shown through the roof. That's enough Reiju. I glanced to the side to see Izuku walking towards us. He seemed extremely distraught to the point I was afraid something terrible might have happened to him. I'm sorry if I made you all worry. I'm okay now. He tried to hide what he was really feeling through a smile for it not to fly with me. I went towards Izuku to have him stare directly at me. Izuku, what happened? Exactly as the one on the ground said. Doflaminga was giving some kind of stupid ultimatum to me, but I refused to do it. Ha, I knew you'd be too chicken to do anything oof. Reiju cut the irritating girl short with a kick while Izuku went towards the corner and shut his eyes. Izuku, are you alright? Praline tried to ask with Izuku shutting down and holding his knees to his chest. I'll be fine, I just need to not be bothered right now. Everyone tried to leave him be before I began moving to sit in the seat beside him. Nothing was said for a few moments until I spoke one simple statement. You made the better choice. I'm sorry though you had to choose the way you did. It's not your fault. I should have never listened. I pulled Izuku in to have him rest his head on my side to try and comfort him to feel his arms wrap around me. At least you're not regressing back and stopped yourself from doing something you shouldn't. Oh, gag me with a spoon. Of course my defective brother would like to smell like a disgusting fish. Says the woman who isn't afraid to hang out with rats. Praline spoke in a quick remark to surprise all of us. What? Her mouth is now starting to bug me. Yamato finally released Midoriya to have her walk off and leave us be. For the next half hour before Izuku had to leave, nobody really bothered him outside of Wanda who tried to make sure he ate something before the final event, which I didn't have a problem with her disturbing the moment for that. Once Izuku had to leave, I gave him a small kiss and let him leave before sitting happily in my seat. To the side though, Carrot was giving me a rather confident smirk. What? So when are Uchiha going to make a cute little Mako shark mermaid or fishman with Izuku? I took out my pipe and smoked it a little before answering. Fishmen and merfolk can have children that don't relate to the type of fish they resemble. So the chances of having a child that has Mako shark connections is actually pretty low. Oh, so that's why you and Arlong look nothing alike, Yamato asked while putting her feet up. That and we actually are half-siblings. Still wish he wouldn't belittle Izuku as much and he'd not accept it without fighting back. You know something, I never did find out why Izuku holds back and refuses to fight fishmen or merfolk. You mind explaining to us why? Reiju asked for me to come to the realization of that statement. I don't really know. It happened after his mother's death, so it's only natural for me to believe she might have a significant factor to it. But then again, this is speculation. All I know is Izuku disciplined himself to never raise a hand to a member of the Ryugu kingdom no matter the reason. Anyone that shares the same species as us has also refused to be struck by him. Jinbei said Izuku thinks the people have suffered enough scrutiny towards humans and he believes this is Izuku's own way to bridge the gap. However, I don't know if that's the case. We continued to sit with the next match being called as a one-on-one with it being a ring fight. I was mildly happy since this could show off Izuku's natural talent in combat and with hockey. I hope this helps him stand out. Izuku paused. After being called down, Midnight explained we were going to have one-on-one fights. This made me somewhat smile knowing I was able to now be put in a scenario where the light can solely be on me. We began pulling out tallies for us all to see who we were fighting. Alright, lots have been drawn, now we shall see who is facing who in the final event. Izuku Ryugu vs Hitoshi Shinso, Shoto Todoroki vs Nito Monoma, Denki Kaminari vs Tenya Iida, Honi Tsunatori vs Mei Hatsume, Fumikage Tokiyami vs Momo Yaoyorozu, Mina Ishido vs Yuga Aoyama, Katsuki Bakugo vs Eijiro Kirishima, Izumi Midoriya vs Ochako Uraraka. That might be hard for Uraraka. Even if she wins, she's most likely going to face Bakugo if my hunch on his and Kirishima's fight is correct. I'm only going to say this now, girl. Drop out. I overheard Izumi speak to see her talk to Uraraka. It would be a shame to see someone be too beaten up to fight. Besides, we both know you're not going to beat me. So why don't you just give up now and nobody has to see you be beaten so badly and ruin your chances of. I'm not giving up. Uraraka bluntly stated this with some determination in her voice. I promised myself I was going to stick it out till the end and try to win this. I'm not going to turn back now that I'm facing you. This notably irritated Izumi for her to scowl at Uraraka. Fine. Don't go complaining that I didn't give you a way out of this without getting hurt. If anything, I'll enjoy making you regret those words. I'm not afraid of you. Izumi walked away for it to surprise me with how determined my classmate was. When there wasn't a trace of her left, Uraraka went pale. I'm screwed. Normally I wouldn't care if someone would get hurt in these situations, but I do feel empathy for her. Hopefully she doesn't get hurt too bad where she can't work at the cafe. Would kinda suck to be down a person. I went towards the corridor before noticing Todoroki behind me. Hey, Todoroki, you got a minute? I wanna ask you about something. He didn't have an issue with this first to find a secluded area outside of prying ears. I leaned on a wall while Todoroki leaned on another across from me. So what did you wanna talk about? Your power. I don't know why you choose to withhold yourself, but I want you to know this. If we fight and that's a good possibility from what I can gauge from our opponents, I'm not having you hold back on me. He seemed to be irritated a bit for his eyes to go to his left hand. I can't use my left side. I refuse to use his power. His power? You mean your father's, don't you? He nodded before explaining to me a bit of his past. Apparently, his family life was kinda broken to the point he was turned into an emotionless soldier more or less with the set purpose of surpassing all might. It eventually drove his mother into a mental breakdown and caused the scar on his left side. I merely listened to it before standing up and unwrapping the bandages I have over my hands. What are you doing? Once they were off, I showed the scars from the burns I got from that day and explained them. Back when I was a kid and my adopted mother was still alive, the people of the Ryugu kingdom began signing a petition in order to bring us up to the surface. My mother risked her life going to the kingdom I spent 2 years of hell in just to get a signature from a celestial dragon to allow us to come to the reverie. Everything was going well, fantastic even. Everyone wanted to believe the world wasn't against them. That's when a fire was lit. Several thousand signatures went up in flames along with the papers the people wrote their futures on. Both me and my mother tried to save them by pulling the still burning pieces out of the fire and putting them out. However, we saw the true darkness of people that day, and it was signaled with the sound of a gun. Todoroki was surprised by hearing this before I wrapped my hands up again. Don't get me wrong, I understand your desire to prove yourself by self-restraint. I refuse to harm any fishmen or merfolk due to what happened that day. But to someone who had to scrape and claw and climb his way from a pit so unfathomable you can't even begin to comprehend, doing that to me is an insult to all my troubles, and I refuse to let you do that and take the easy way out. So I'm going to only say this once. If I find out that you're holding back on me when we face one another. I grabbed Todoroki by his shirt collar and pulled him close while releasing a little bit of my conqueror's haki. I'm going to make your life seem like it was sunshine and daisies compared to what you'll feel in that ring. I let him go before going towards the stands. As I walked away, Todoroki had one final thing to say to me. Charlie told us that you hate yourself more than humanity. Why? I stopped before turning to have one eye on him. Because, when the time came where I should have been strong, I was too weak to do anything, with my adopted mother paying the price with her life. His eyes went wide hearing this for me to walk away. After this tournament, see your mother. It might do you good having closure if she genuinely thinks you're a clone of your father, or if she genuinely feels horrible for what she did. I walked up the stairs with one of the Don Quixote executives passing me. He stopped and looked as if he was mulling over what to say. Once I got to where he was, he spoke up. It's nice to see you're still a good kid, Izuku. I'm not kind. But wouldn't you get into trouble if you talk with me, Senior Pink? Quote. Call it friendly conversation. We walked opposite routes of one another, with the ordeal making me smile. By the way, Senior spoke up again for me to stop. Baby 5 is genuinely sorry for what happened to you. She said if she was old enough to take care of you, she would have offered to raise you herself. I'm also very sorry that I couldn't either. You had a wife and kid already. I don't blame you for not being secure. Just know that I have let go of any emotions I could have for the Don Quixote family. However, that doesn't mean I will never forget the family's actions. Quote. I understand. We walked off with some girls in bikinis near the bottom of the steps talking about Senior being hard-boiled, or something. Didn't peg that guy for a pervert. I honestly thought he had good style from what I remember of him. As the sports festival went underway, Izuku and his classmates were faced with events that pitted them against one another as well as the other first years. The final event was revealed to be a one-on-one match in a tournament bracket setting. Adding to this, Todoroki reveals his past to Izuku and shows similarities between the two's troubled family lives. However, Izuku, in a mild showing of humility, explained to Todoroki to try and reconcile with his mother to find some form of closure. Now, with the final event starting, everyone waits in anticipation for the final event's start. Izuku Pav. Alright boys and girls, time for the first round of our final event. On my left, he's the man who hangs out under the sea and talks with fish. Class A's Izuku Ryugu. I walked out of the corridor when Mike announced to me to glare up at the announcer's box. Did you have to make it sound like I'm some kind of lonely 40-something-year-old weirdo that probably never touched a woman? And on my right, he's a guy from General Studies who's made it all the way to the top crust of the world. Class C's Hitoshi Shinso. The guy named Shinso walked out looking somewhat indifferent with the fact he didn't scream a fighter standing out to me. I'm gonna say this once. Drop out now. I'm not sure what training you did to get here, and honestly, that's not my biggest concern right now. I don't want to cause any unnecessary harm to anyone that doesn't deserve it. Sorry man, but I'm not into the whole heartfelt speech thing. Personally, I feel it's useless. But then again, bleeding heartfelt idiots are a dime a dozen. Ready, probably why the hero course has a bunch of idiots in them. Go. Without any form of hinting to it, I activated my Conqueror's Haki to affect Shinso. He felt it and backed up a bit before falling to the ground unconscious. What the heck was that? Midnight ran over to check Shinso to make sure he wasn't hurt before calling it. Shinso is unconscious, Ryugu wins. The crowd began cheering before I walked over towards the Shinso guy with him slowly regaining consciousness. He seemed irritated before standing up and brushing off the dust on him. That was embarrassing. You're lucky you faced someone like me. If it was someone else, then you would have had to actually fight them. If it means anything, you handled yourself well against my hockey to only pass out for a few moments. Perhaps, you can become a strong hockey wielder if you have the right teacher. I began walking away with the comment I said confusing me. When have you become some kind of shrink? What the hell is putting these things in your mind, Izuku? I walked towards the top of the stands to watch the next few rounds. The one with Todoroki ended for the most part as I expected against Monoma. The only thing I didn't plan for was a ridiculous amount of ice to be used and turn half the stadium into a glacier. The one after that ended somewhat bad for Ida's situation, mainly due to the fact he was facing the human lightning bolt who was able to shock him unconscious while also making his own brain go stupid in the process. Though he would have been open for any attack, Kaminari still won and went on to just make the match a bad matchup for Ida to annoy me a little. The match after that was dragged out with the Hatsume girl from support turning Tsunatori into a model for her gear before walking out of bounds. The ones after ended quickly with Yaoyorozu being knocked out of bounds for not paying attention and Ashido melting Frenchie's belt and giving an uppercut while he was trying to save his modesty. Even thought here's so little now knowing he wears whitey tighties. As such, we came to some of the last two matches with Uraraka going a little pale. Granted, she was facing that psychotic woman, so I'd get it. Uraraka, you good? Yamato asked for Uraraka to turn around and give a troubled smile. I'll manage. I glanced towards her to see she looked like she was ready to piss herself. You don't have to face her. You can still back out and nobody's gonna judge you. I can't. I wanna do this so I can get scouted by a good agency. It's the only way I can help my family. I overheard this for the second to last match of the first round to start. Come with me. I stood up with Wanda deciding to follow us. I didn't mind the company for us to start walking down the corridor. So what does your family have to do with you not giving up? I asked for Uraraka to scratch her head. Well, we're kinda having financial issues. My parents run a construction company with work being extremely weak lately. They work really hard and I figured, maybe I should at least try and pay them back for all they did for me growing up. Oh yeah, heroes do get paid nicely. Wanda realized this before continuing. If Uchiha got signed up with a big agency, you could make a good sum of money and make your family's financial problems disappear. Yeah, it's not the most admirable goal, but I wanna at least pay my family back for everything they've done for me. It's only fair, right? I didn't agree with how she wanted to do it, but I did admire her desire to reciprocate what she wanted to give back for all her parents have done for her. To be honest, I think I understand your desire to give back more than anything. I smiled remembering my family and how supportive they were for me. I wanna do the same thing by allowing the members of the Ryugu Kingdom to come above the surface. That was my late mother's wish that I wanted to see come true. I even promised my little sister that I'd take her to see a forest when that happens. I smiled at this a little for Wanda to realize it and hug us both. I knew I liked something about Uchiha. Garchu. She started rubbing her cheeks on both of ours before we reached the waiting room for Uraraka. If it means anything, I'll be rooting for Uchiha, Ochako. Good luck out there. Thanks, Wanda. Uraraka glanced at me before giving a smile with a thumbs up. I didn't want to bother with it to just give a thumbs up while walking away. Again, what the hell is wrong with me today? Why am I so willing to do these things? Third person POV. Alright boys and girls, we're going to start our final match of the first round. On my left, we've got the girl that can float all your troubles away. Class A's Ochako Uraraka, and on my right, she's the daughter of the heavenly devil herself. Class B's Izumi Midoriya. The crowd cheered with Izuku returning to his seat to watch the match with some unease. Izuku, you seem very tense. Charlie picked up on this quickly to ask about it. Is it because of your sister, or does it have to do with Uraraka? I just can't shake the feeling that she's going to try something underhanded here. Izumi stared at Ochako with some irritation before speaking up. Just so you know, you blew your chance of getting out of here without any pain. However, I'm a nice person to at least offer you another way out. She pointed down to the ground before speaking. Get on your hands and knees and ask for my forgiveness. I also want you to say that Izuku is a worthless human being that doesn't deserve to be here. You do all that, and I'll let you get off with the minor lumps. A smirk came to her face with Ochako clearly irritated by this comment. I'm not doing any of that and I'm not backing down, so you can get off your high horse now, you arrogant jerk. The smirk on Izumi's face went to a scowl before the sound of Mike shouting for them to start came. Immediately, Izumi encased the borders of the ring in fire to prevent Midnight or Cementos from seeing what was happening. What the heck's going on here? I can't see a thing. Midoriya's covered the field in fire to prevent Uraraka from having a ring out while also denying us a complete view of the field. So, should we interfere? Aizawa looked up at a booth to see Doflamming a smile while watching. Technically, this isn't against the rules. However, it is frowned upon since we can't delegate the match properly, from close up. He contemplated the decision knowing he'd have less repercussions if she was to let it go on. For now, we'll let it keep going. If from a long-distance perspective we see this get out of hand, we'll stop the match. And there you have it, folks, this'll be legal. Ochako looked around in the fire before losing track of Izumi. Where did she? Right beside you. Izumi let off a blast of fire at Ochako's torso to send her back right next to the wall of flames. Ah, hot, hot, hot. Quickly, the brunette put the fire out on her before standing up to show some of a charred shirt. What is wrong with you? You could have seriously hurt someone like that. Are you insane or something? Then pay closer attention. Izumi let loose another blast of fire to target Ochako at a longer distance before she jumped out of the way. Too slow. Flare bullet. Izumi sent off a small blast of fire pressurized to have it graze Ochako's arm. Ah, she fell to the ground gripping her shoulder for Izumi to walk up and coat her foot in armament hockey. She kicked Ochako's stomach and sent her right next to the fire to light the jacket of her PE uniform ablaze. Getting rid of it quickly, Ochako threw it at Izumi as a distraction before coming behind it to try and touch her. This failed as Izumi made a whip of fire to slice the coat and give a notable gash on Ochako's cheek. You understand it now, you're weak. She used the whip again to knock Ochako on her back and began shouting insults while cracking the flame whip back and striking her back. You're pathetic, you're useless. What does someone like you think you can do against me? Each time the whip slashed Ochako's skin, unbearable pain was sent towards her with the staff having next to no ability to see what exactly was happening. However, Izuku could see it perfectly clear with Haki to hold extreme anger in the acts done. His teeth gritted with a small bit of blood coming down his mouth watching someone like Ochako be beaten and battered for no reason other than she just sided with him. Just say it, come on, it'll save you all this pain. Just admit to what you think, damn it. Ochako tried to get back to her knees before being kicked back down by Izumi. She stood over Ochako as she looked up at her. You know what will make this stop. All you have to do is say what I told you in the beginning and take back what you said about me being insane. Now tell me, what do you think of my idiotic little brother now? Say it loud enough for me to hear it. She smiled knowing right now the amount of fear in Ochako for her life would make the statement she wanted to hear come out. Ryugu is, yes, he's my piece of crap brother is what? She was salivating at the idea of what was going to be said. Ryu Izuku is, an amazing person. Hearing this, Izumi glared at her with Ochako not giving the satisfaction of showing fear towards her adversary. He's someone that I admire and respect fully since he never gives up. He always tries to fight and never tries to use someone else as a shield or a weapon. Compared to him, you're beneath him. Ochako smiled at this for Izumi to lose her patience and punch Ochako in her face with her fire still active. She continued this over and over and over again before noticing Ochako was no longer conscious. Damned bitch, you asked for this the second you refused to surrender. Izumi walked towards the edge of the ring and tossed her out for the fire to drop down. Midnight ran over to see how Ochako is before glaring back at Izumi. Are you going to call the match? She's out of bounds and unable to continue. A hint of irritation was shown in Midnight's face seeing the damage done to the brunette before understanding she did still have a job she needed to do. Uraraka is unable to battle, Midoriya wins. There was a pause before a cheer with Izumi walking towards the exit. Meanwhile, Izuku was holding back everything he could to jump down and fight his blood-related sister for what she's done. Reiju, can you help Recovery Girl with healing Uraraka? I can see if I can. The two walked to Recovery Girl's office with the anxiousness Izuku felt being known by Reiju. This isn't your fault. You didn't tell her to fight nor force her to. Maybe not, but my sister made it seem like it was. They arrived at the nurse's tent to open it and see Recovery Girl trying what she could to heal Ochako without her having any scars. However, Izuku took note of how badly her back was hit for it to sicken him enough to want to throw up. Recovery Girl, I'd like to offer any help. I have a few medical tools that are unique to the world from the Germa Kingdom. That's much appreciated, Missy. This one needs all the help she can get. Izuku walked towards a chair beside Ochako to see her have a blackened eye and a large gash on her cheek. How bad is the damage? A notable amount of burns as well as the cuts. They weren't deep enough to cause serious damage, but deep enough where she could be in a lot of pain. Adding to the burning that would have happened, she was most likely brought to a state of torture. Ryugu, I'm okay, really. Ochako opened her eyes and tried to smile. This irritated Izuku even more, knowing she tried to brush off what she was feeling. Why didn't you say what she wanted you to? This comment surprised everyone. All you had to do was say to Izumi that you were sorry and that I was useless. You had no reason to defend me, and in the end, it's because of that you're in the state you're in. So why? Ochako smiled while answering. Because you're a good person, Ryugu. You're a great guy. Ochako fell unconscious with her words and smile, angering Izuku more. As she said this, he used observation haki to find out if she was telling the truth to realize she was sincere. Hearing this, the green-haired man got up and walked out of the nurse's office. When he was alone, Izuku leaned his head on the wall while taking a deep breath in. I'm not a good person. I've shown no reason for any of you to like me, so why do you think I am? He started to laugh before continuing. Ochako Uraraka, you and Yaoyorozu are fucking idiots to actually think I'm a good person. But then again, I don't think being an idiot is a bad thing. As the final event of the sports festival went underway, the top 16 of the sports festival were pitted against one another in a one-on-one bracket match. Ochako, who was unfortunate enough, was faced off with Izumi. In a way to get her to cave in and belittle her brother, the green-haired woman continually attacked and harmed Ochako for her stance on her classmate to not falter. Even when asked by Izuku himself, she explained that she held no regret for defending his name and genuinely thinks him a good person. Now the second round of the event will begin with Izuku facing off against Todoroki, who stands as one of his toughest adversaries in the festival. Izuku Pav. After leaving Recovery Girl's office making sure Uraraka was alright, I began making my way towards the waiting room for my fight with Todoroki. Upon reaching it, I opened the door to none other than the flame hero sitting inside the room. Endeavor. Prince. I scowled at him with the nickname he gave me before shutting the door and leaning on it. So what do I owe the pleasure? Here to tell me that your son's going to kick my ass in the simplest terms? Or are you here to justify any actions I may have heard from Todoroki? Actually, I came here to ask for a favor. This surprised me a bit. Though I don't like humanity as a whole, Endeavor always gave off a somewhat remorseful energy around him under his normally asshole nature, if you can call it that. I asked him in private what he regrets and is striving for to get that he destroyed his family unintentionally and sent his wife over the deep end after their son basically killed himself. My best guess is to break your son's resolve to not use his fire half of his quirk. It is. He believes that it's because of his left side that his mother had her mental breakdown. In a sense, he isn't wrong, since I did play a notable part in what drove her over the edge. If he hates me, I'm content with that. But I want him to stop doing this to himself. He may see merit in it, but it will eventually be a crutch for him and may lead him to an end. I let out a sigh before answering. To be honest, I still stand by my comment I made about your family life before in thinking you're a shit father, and nothing you say can change that. I don't blame you for thinking that. However, I do understand where you're saying that your son withholding the power he has will eventually be his downfall. The world isn't fair and will take advantage of you if you give them the ability to. I'm not proud to say this, but I'm on the same page as you for wanting Todoroki to use his left side. Of course, my reasons for helping are my own and your request means nothing. Thank you. Endeavor bowed to me before I got up and began walking out of the room. Before I left, I stated one thing that I wanted to. If you want to repay me, I'd like you to give me a request from your agency. Having a top-ranked pro help me by giving a request will say, I am for this man's decision and I will help where I can. I'll put in the request after the sports festival. Much appreciated. I shut the door and began walking down the hall. I also pulled a thing of string out to tie my blade to prevent it from opening. It's an embarrassment thinking you're not going to fight me all out. I hope you understand that, Todoroki. Third person Pav. Alright ladies and gents, time for the first match of the second round. The crowd cheered for joy with everyone in Class A's stands watching with some intent. Did I miss the start? Ochako came towards Charlie with the mermaid looking back a little worried for her. They haven't started yet, but should you be walking around after what happened? You also look very exhausted. Ochako had looked as if she was fighting the urge to pass out with Reiju behind her helping the brunette sit. I wanted to watch this fight. Ryugu was kind enough to ask Reiju for help for me, so it's only fair that I watch his match. Ochako winced a little while sitting behind Praline, who was laying on a large pillow due to her being on the larger side to not fit in the seats. I'm sure Izuku will be happy to know that you're wanting to root for him. Shashasha. On my left, he's a noble prince of the sea itself. Class A's Izuku Ryugu. The crowd cheered for him with Praline deciding now would be a fun time to give a motivational shout. Win this and I'll make sure your night tonight is filled with passion, Izuku. Izuku went red hearing this with Midnight smirking at him. I don't want to hear a word of this from you. Izuku didn't even look at Midnight as he pointed to her and stated this. Looks like Ryugu's in for a fun time after today. Anyway, on my right, he's the son of the number 2 pro hero Endeavor. Also from Class A, Shoto Todoroki. Izuku took a fighting stance with Todoroki preparing for his first move as well. Begin. Right off the bat, Todoroki tried to freeze Izuku with him seeing it coming. Easy. He pulled his fist back and coated it with Haki. 4,000 brick fist. In one hit, Izuku was able to create a shockwave that shattered the ice almost towards Todoroki to have him slide back a little. I should have figured Ryugu would have a counter strategy for me. He's used to fighting at a disadvantage. But what's his next move? Izuku took another fighting stance without budging an inch. He's not moving. Todoroki sent another attack at Izuku for him to punch it again with the same attack and send it now farther back to hit Todoroki in the stomach and knock the wind out of him a little. Dang, what is Ryugu doing to succeed in not moving from his spot and stopping Todoroki? I thought he was quirkless. Ryugu is a skilled fighter in Fishman karate. It uses the natural liquid in the air and sends it as shockwaves. Since he's also using armament Haki and the ice from Todoroki's attacks are being shattered entirely to dust, his attacks are causing more power. From a personal perspective, I think the best course of action Todoroki could take in handling Ryugu right now is to avoid using ice attacks entirely. Oh snap, there you have it folks. Ryugu has taken the strong suit of Todoroki's attacks and turned them into his own power. Izuku smirked at Todoroki before remaining in his stance where he stood. Why isn't he fighting back? Is he waiting to have me close the gap? Todoroki ran up while also creating more ice to attack Izuku with. This was much larger than the two previous for Izuku to grab his katana that was tied up and held it in a stance. Fishman swordsmanship. Izuku crossed the weapon to face the left side of his body before making a quick slash with it. Ocean current slash. In one strike, Izuku was able to destroy the ice by slicing it in half and flanking towards his left to see Todoroki right beside him. He was about to touch Izuku with him adjusting his stance to use his katana to divert his hand upwards and slam into the dual hair-colored man with the back of his fist. Since his fist was coated with armament, the shock sent him sliding right towards the edge before a block of ice stopped him. How pathetic. You honestly think you'll beat me with only half your strength? You're a waste of time for me. Hearing this, Todoroki was a bit enraged. Then why don't you fight me seriously and end this right now? If you're so much stronger, then why aren't you ending the match yourself? I've given you more than enough moments to And why should I waste my time fighting you seriously when you won't give me the same? Having discipline is good, but willingly thinking that you can be the best with only half your power is garbage and unrealistic. It takes everything in a person's disposal to be what they want to be. Achieve what they want to. So when I see someone like you who had every chance to succeed and only gives half they can put out, it pisses me the hell off. Izuku shouted before sending another punch for it to miss and narrowly send Todoroki out of the ring. I fought to be strong. Another punch came to break a wall Todoroki made. I fought to be a protector. A third punch came to hit Todoroki in the side of his right arm to dislocate it. I fought to help make a bridge for my people. All I've wanted was given to you. A powerful quirk, a family that isn't completely broken. A chance to at least enjoy being something and having all the tools to achieve it right off the bat. Izuku gave one final hit to knock the wind out of Todoroki with some frost coming off his body making him slower to react. Izuku grabbed Todoroki after to hold him up and started shouting at him. You and I are similar, but there's one difference. You don't understand what being too weak will do. So why the fuck are you allowing such a horrible childhood hinder yourself in the long run of your final goal of being a hero? If this is the best you've got, then get the fuck out of UA. There's a million people who'd want to be in your role. Izuku gave another solid hit to Todoroki's face with a sudden remembrance coming to his mind. A memory of his mother in the past telling him what he genuinely needed to know back then. Shoto, you are not a slave to your lineage. Web links. Remembering this phrase, Todoroki came to a realization. I was making myself a slave to myself. This thought came with a sudden blaze of emotion for his right side to spark and be set ablaze. What the nuts? Carrot shouted as she felt the heat from Todoroki's left side in the stands. So he was able to hold this level of raw power on his left side as well as his right. The perfect form of thermogenesis one could have. Reiju watched in interest with Wanda starting to try and pull back a little. Meanwhile, Izumi watched on the other side of the wall with some interest. So my useless little brother is a bleeding heartfelt. No wonder that trick almost worked. Izuku smirked at Todoroki as he stood in front of him untying his sword. I get it now, Ryugu. You wanted to help avoid me going into your own hole you crawled out of. That's why you helped me, isn't it? Maybe. Izuku continued to pull the string off as he explained his logic. Becoming a mindless servant to someone is always torture on yourself. It's even worse when that person who enslaves you is yourself. In the end, all you'll ever amount to is hurting yourself and the people around you who actually do care about yourself. I learned that lesson today the hard way. Izuku glanced up at the stands towards Momo with a bit of irritation. As much as I hate to admit it, I do owe her for helping me. Izuku finished unwrapping the string to pull out his katana. To make this official for me getting serious, this blade was made with the pride of Fishman Island embedded inside every fiber of it. I am willing to fight you while staking my people's pride on the line. Sounds admirable. Todoroki stated this as he let loose a massive barrage of ice at Izuku for the green-haired man to coat his blade in hockey. He stormed through and cut down every piece of ice that came towards him as Todoroki prepared for an attack with his left. Ryugu, though you never really showed it to us, you genuinely are a good person. Shiarli was right. It might not mean anything to you, but thank you. Seeing this as a moment they needed to step in, Midnight and Cementos both decided to step in and try to prevent both from colliding. This failed on their part as the power both were giving couldn't be contained and broke through every barrier for both to collide. A massive explosion happened to push everyone back into the edge of their seats and shatter the windows of the private booths. As the dust cleared, both teachers on the stadium floor began slowly getting up. Just because you're strong, doesn't mean you'll become a great hero, but these two truly are amazing. Cementos thought this out loud as he tried to stand up. Midnight, what do you see? Remembering what was going on, the R-rated hero tried to look into the dust to see Todoroki standing with Izuku in front of him. The latter was covered from head to toe in hockey with the top half of his uniform ripped off. The more notable thing though was Izuku's blade looking as if it was in Todoroki's neck. This forced Midnight to run towards them with Izuku pulling his blade away to show all that was on Todoroki was a notable bruise before he fell over unconscious. Todoroki is KO'd, Ryugu wins. The crowd cheered as Izuku bowed to Todoroki before placing his blade back in its sheath. Midnight was about to say something before Izuku went right to the point. I changed which side was facing Todoroki at the last second. He's probably going to have a lot of neck pains for a little while, but having that pain's better than not having a head. Midnight was shocked at how skilled Izuku was. Not only did he succeed in defeating Todoroki, but was able to hold back enough where he could prevent serious damage. Amazing. Though they're twins, Ryugu and Midoriya couldn't be more different. Something tells me that they'll be facing each other in the finals if the level of strength between them is something to go on. Midnight laughed at this a little as the medical bots took Todoroki away. As those in the hero course watched the ending, Yamato decided to stand up and cheer. Yahoo! Go Izuku! Show them what you're made of. Yeah, that's how it gets done. Ulti joined her for Mina to smirk. She leaned in the back of her seat to look at Charlie with a question. So serious question. If you're open to it, would it be fine if I try to ask Ryu out? I don't think you'll get that far. Charlie stated this rather bluntly before explaining. You already know he despises humans, himself included. Though he might not be against people that have a heavy mutation quirk, dating you might be a different story. Also, you'll have to explain that to those two as well if you'd like to enjoy Izuku. Charlie pointed towards Ulti and Yamato who were waving their fists for joy. Do you think I've got a chance for Ulti not to crush my skull? Entirely, no, but if you help me with breaking Izuku down to do something, I think I can put in a good word where the worst you'll get is a concussion. Izuku may have himself drained by her though as a way to compensate. Charlie smoked from her pipe with Ochako not getting this. What do you mean? Try not to think too much about what it means. The brunette was going to ask more, but stopped realizing what it was to go red. Exactly. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Now we will see you in the next video.